I have big nostrils.
They're very absorbent.
I have a house, a gaggle of women in my house.
Dad's always the hero.
Seriously, I don't have. Only my wife currently would be in need, or a sister-in-law, or mother-in-law, or myself on a heavy flow day. But yeah, give it another. Next time I'm here, maybe if it's. Hopefully, it won't. I feel like here in the church we should say a prayer before
If
we
you
start.
if you feel so inclined, I suppose you can.
Dear Lord, thank you for the beer, and thank you for podcasts.
Yes.
May this be a good one. Amen.
may this be good.
You let me know when you're ready to get the. Can we just start the podcast? And you feel okay? All right.
It's
Mike,
all
all the
good.
mics are coming down.
Everybody knows
But
what
Bob,
to do.
yeah, Bob, you have your lines ready.
Yep.
All right, here we go. I'm killing all the other mics. You're so give me a
Little something.
yeah. Talk to me again.
Hello. Yep, I'm red. There we go.
Okay. I'm a
in front of the face. Look.
I'm a geometrical kind of
Look at the
person.
face.
All right, sorry. All right, here we go. We're rolling. When I point to you, that's when you do your lines. Say I didn't point, so good thing you didn't do it. He's natural.
The following is a presentation of Stewed Productions.
This is Bobby Harwell with Back Pew Brewing, and you're tuned in to Interbrews.
This is Interbrews.
Episode 167. Turn myself up so I sound nice and juicy, like this IPA. Nice and full of flavor.
Flavor's important.
Hey, Bobby.
What's going on, man? Welcome back. It's been a
Thank
long
you.
time. We're in a different environment now.
It's been way too long. Way too long. This is why. It's just last time we were 5 pounds lighter already into the show. It was about this time of year, though, right?
It was, yeah. It was in the summer, and so what he's alluding to is the last time, we didn't, we weren't. Now we're in the sanctuary and everything else. So, in the middle of summer when you're in the production facility, it's a little bit of a different climate.
Mm-hmm.
Not client, climate. It's important English. All those letters, they come together and form words, and then when you put those together in the right way, you form terrible sentences. But yeah, so we were in the brewery, and at the time I don't think we had the exhaust fans, so it was literally just us baking on these same tables. That's the one thing that's constant. The tables have not changed.
I think where the sweat turned to blood at the end, towards the end.
It was, but hey, you know what? We had cold beer, so it's all right. But
good.
but yeah, tis the season, man. But this is much nicer. So where you are now, for those of you who don't know about it, we're now in the sanctuary, which was the old church here on premise, and we've kept kind of the look of it. We've changed it a lot. So when I say look, I guess we've changed it entirely. But it is still an old. It's actually the sanctuary of what this church was, and so we thought that it really played out well and worked well as a tap room.
Well, when you walk in, you got the wood on the ceiling, the wood beams, and it's the the long. You think of like a hall, like it's a beer hall, but it's also a meeting place.
Oh yeah.
And no, it's good. Looks good.
Sharp. Looks super sharp.
All those taps.
All those taps with still more empty ones than I would like, but hey, we're working on it. Thanks, Glycol.
Yeah.
Thanks for breaking. Be great if you just stayed on all the time. But sometimes that's whenever brewers talk about it, you always know they've been brewing for a while. When you're just like, how you still loving brewing? You go, yeah, I am. Well, it must be awesome to be up on the brew house all the time. Like mostly, I just clean and fix stuff, and that's when they've really made it, because that probably is mostly where a pump goes down, you fix it, and you continue on your brew day. Brewing is still great, and you have all that fun and everything else, but when those challenges and things pop up when stuff goes down, because you're like, oh crap, now I got to get that back up and running.
Threw off your rhythm. Is that the 80-20 rule for brewing? 80% cleaning, 20% everything else?
It's got to be something like that. Something in there. But there's so many elements to any kind of brewery. When you get to when you talk about advertisement, sales, finance, all that stuff. Me as being, I'm an engineering nerd. I love the brewing part. That's really my, what I really would love to do 24/7 if I could. But the reality is that the rest of it's the fun part. Not putting the boiler on in 110 degrees outside, sweating your balls off. It's actually the fun part. Going out to accounts, meeting people, getting people to try your product, talking about it. That's the fun part.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have the blend of all of those things.
That's cool. Yeah. I love coming out. You just got the steeple on.
Yeah, on Friday. I was in here talking to some people, and my guys came in and said, don't come outside for a while. And I said, why? They're like, you're not going to like it, but it's going to get up there. I said, all right. And so I heard a bunch of noise. Nobody was injured. It's up there secured. It is going nowhere from what they tell me, and I believe them. But apparently, I don't know what they did, and I don't want stories. I don't want videos. I don't want to know. I just know the steeple made it up there.
That's cool. It's a beacon of, come here for good beer.
That's right. Before we had the base up there for a while, and people were still trying to go toward the production facility next door. It's a metal building. It's where we were for 3 years, so it makes sense. Some people who haven't been there for a little while. This used to be that thing where we were like, no, don't even think about that. Now I'm like, no, only think about that. And so before that giant, especially since we did it out of metal, kept it shiny, it now really shines well.
Yeah.
People have nothing else. I think it catches their attention like keys. Like, maybe I should go over there.
Yeah, it does. Driving up, I was like, whoa, okay, I'm going there.
Yeah.
It really does. I drove towards it. It's like I couldn't help it.
When I walked up, I walked towards the building, and then I saw the car parked out in front. I was like, "There's no way." There's a way,
Yeah, that is the other funny thing. Now that the steeple's there, people are thinking like, oh, maybe they did reopen the church. I'm like, no.
It's open.
No, it is. But that's why, on Sundays especially, it's kind of funny. That's our second best day. I'm like, because I think people go to church and they're like, well, it's sort of like continuing on with church, except I get to drink there and
It is.
So let's roll with that.
That was the. I'm assuming I've read in Germany. I wasn't there back in the day, but people would go to church and they'd let out and they'd go over to the brewery or tavern or whatever, and there's just kind of an open area, and that's just how you did your day.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, beer, pubs, things like that have been center points for conversation for a long time. I mean, that's a big part of that's, again, you go out, you meet people, you talk to people. I mean, I would say that alcohol likely induces some form of, all of us introverts are willing to go out there and talk to extroverts, and extroverts get very much more talkative. And so, it's a meeting place. I mean, the beer hall push. I mean, a lot of things start there. So it is interesting. We actually, just this last Sunday, I think we had a lady, she was like, well, hey, we do our Bible study up at Southern Star. So, like, we go to church, and afterwards we go there and have beers and, like, talk.
You're kidding.
But we live here.
Yeah.
And so,
Wow.
It'd be cool if we came here. And I was like, as long as you don't, my general thesis and, and everything about what Back Pew is, the saint in the center line, the whole idea is if you're a saint, you're a sinner, it doesn't matter. You're welcome here. Just don't be an asshole. Because there are assholes on all sides. Just, that's the only thing we don't want. So if you come in and do your thing, we've got lots of space. We've got 14 acres. Do it. Just don't bother anybody. Don't be a jerk, So I don't care. Just go do your thing. But if you start, we've had one or two groups come in. They kind of, bothered. We're going around the tables, and I was like, "You're not coming back. You need to go."
Going around
and like talking about, like, we had a guy. The worst one was a car wash company. They rolled in here. I mean, it was just, and they were talking. Hey, I was like, dude, do you think people come in here to be sold to, like, by other stuff? No, the whole point is not to have that happen. I had there's a financial advisor who was like, hey, I hear you're busy on Saturdays. Do you mind if I come out and talk to people, go around the tables? I was like, no. The last thing I want my customers thinking about while they're drinking beer is their financial stability, and where their retirement should be going. Because I need them to, no offense, buy beer. And it's a terrible time for them to make long-term retirement decisions after 3-4 beers. So, it's just not what they're not coming back for you to be like, I wonder if I'm ready for retirement. No, this is like, let's have a good time. Let's let all that go away. You may have been thinking about that 4 hours in the morning. Come to back for you to get a reprieve.
Yes. Yeah, it's definitely, the opposite way. That would be a horrible.
Yeah, it's like, dude.
That's probably the worst math. Like, he's supposed to be good at math. If he's, don't do he didn't do the beer math.
Maybe he was like, if they have a few beers, I can get him to sign contracts.
Yeah.
That's
super on the up and up.
That's why I was like, no, man.
shady.
Like, you can come out and have some beers, and, like, I guess if you want to have a table, and I'd, like, put them over there.
Yeah.
And be like, if people approach you, that's okay.
How about you can come out and buy people a beer and give them your card?
Yeah, at most.
And then, if you want to.
If they call you later, sure.
then
But
that's
walking around
cool.
tables talking like, hi, do you know how good you are? No, man. It's just, So we keep that in, like, Costco down the road. They're on me about, like, hey, we want to come out and do a tent. I'm like, dude, no offense, Costco. You're doing pretty good. So to come and, again, bother my customers at a place where they've gotten used to it being, they don't have that. That's not part of the deal. The part of the deal is to come out and have a good time. That starts just making it weird. Like, we are lucky. We have a lot of support in the Kingwood area, and people want to come out and hang out, and they have a great time. But I think if you start adding elements like that in there, it gets funky.
Does Costco sell your beer?
Some do.
Okay.
But either way, I was just like, it's just a strange thing that didn't, come. The only people I really let, and it's because they're the best dealers in the world, are the Girl Scouts.
Yeah.
Because, it's supporting the troop, but it's amazing to me. They racked up some sales. They were worried at first because people were coming in not buying. I was like, you just wait. They're going to have a few beers in the minute. It's just like when you leave the grocery store. You walk in going like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
By the time you have a full cart, no matter what, you look at them and you're like, all right, give me 8 boxes. Whatever cash I've got, it's yours.
It's the quickest way to get back to your car. And so I'll just.
And now they take card.
Oh, that's dangerous.
And
That was
so
always my
I
excuse.
was like, whoa. Hey, Girl Scouts, this isn't like, I need to talk with Visa and be like, you need to kill that. But because now this is going to be bad. Like, this is beer, way too many Thin Mints. This is a problem. But no, they've done well. So we let stuff like that. But they also don't, sadly, go around, they don't really go around to the tables. They just have a little booth and people they see that and they're like, I've got the beer munchies, and those look delicious.
Yeah.
And so they leave with that. So that I kind of, I don't mind about as much. But
the Boy Scouts should jump on there. They sell that popcorn.
I think that could be one where they, while you're drinking, you can eat that. Somebody just needs to do like a bar nut mix or something, like or those pretzels with peanut butter in them. Do that. Yeah. See, look at that. You have a couple beers. You're like, I do want a bowl of those. In fact, I'll take a giant metal tin of those.
Yeah.
Just put
And
it
you
in
get
your
home
lap.
and you're like, oh no, what
It
have
even
I
comes
done?
with a shoulder strap, so you can just stick it to yourself.
I got a lot of beer to drink.
Maybe we start like a junior brewers program, and then they just go around selling the pretzel tins. like junior brewers of
And we can
America.
ask them if they can make it out of spent grain. Like, do
Yeah,
something out of the spent
something.
grain. Like tie it together. Like, yeah, I know that you're 12, but let's get into breweries more. Like, how about that?
Yeah.
That would probably be the problem. They'd probably be like, I don't know about that. That'd be strange. I could be like, no, it's business. It's just business.
Something. It'd have to be something about bread or something. The bread bros.
We can talk about breaking bread since we're here.
Yeah.
Like here especially, you can you can talk about that. So.
All that goes.
All that.
Speaking of supporting communities, Kennedy, who's with us today on this, I know a lot of the crossover listenership with our live show on Thursday, Liquid Lunch. This Thursday, epic show. I don't know if we have a guest or not. Well, it's always kind of a last minute thing. But anyway, Kennedy's here with us today, streaming on the streamers.
You just can't see me.
Oh, are you not? Oh, yeah, you're right over there.
Yeah.
They can hear you,
Well,
though.
you guys can see me, obviously.
We can see him.
Yeah.
You were up
We
at-
like seeing it. It's good that he's here.
Speaking of, you were up at Lake Livingston. I thought about this, right, when you said we were talking about the steeple. It's like a shiny lure. Like,
Yeah.
we're all just big mouth basses coming up here to the shiny lure.
I mean, it's
attacking
it's if whatever we got to do, if especially with changing hours, it's always interesting how we went from when we first opened, we were every other weekend Saturdays, then we went to every weekend. It took people a while to figure that out. Now that we've got 4 days a week, people are still like, holy crap, I can't believe you're open more than Saturdays noon to 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it takes a while to get them to notice. But I think passing by on sorters, just that it's hot, it just shines off and reflects. I hope it doesn't cause accidents, but. We'll find out. We'll paint it if it's a problem.
No, it's good. It's good.
Plenty of parking out there.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. But you said that y'all have a pretty big presence up in Livingston right there.
We do. We've been working on it. We've been up there selling pretty hard. We should be, you can find us pretty much anywhere around the lake. At least, Blue, Satyrs, Hop, the core cans is what we're really pushing up there. But, everywhere, we've been working Lufkin, Livingston, so the Blue Duck up there. Shout out to those guys. Great little eatery in town if you're ever up there on a weekday. Currently, they're not open on the weekends, but I think they're going to change that soon.
Yeah.
But they've got 2 of our taps. They've got Black Habit and Hop and they've only got 4, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And a lot of the gas stations, Brookshire Brothers, HEBs around there, you can find it at.
The Walmart. Did you go in the Walmart?
I didn't go in the Walmart, but I
Walmart.
did.
You missed out on an entire experience.
Oh.
The Walmart in Livingston.
Well, I
is
didn't
a
go.
must go.
On a weekend to go to Walmart.
No,
You say that.
Yeah.
And-
that's
and
what
I-
You say that.
The only reason I went to Brookshire Brothers is because I forgot mozzarella cheese.
listen.
I was making lasagna. And I
get
forgot.
No, I get you.
And-
I
and I-
get you.
and I forgot.
You gotta grab your cheese. You can get cheese at Walmart, but I think they have a full.
Yeah,
but,
or we can get cheese at Brookshire.
but here's the thing. Here's the
Interbrew is brought to you by the Walton Company.
right? No, non-sponsored, but the best people watching. I'm gonna say 1 and 1A with like the Renfest, but it's a completely different flavor of people watching.
It's I've seen people take cabs to Walmart in Livingston. I've seen prom vehicles go to Walmart. You got to stop by, make sure you're safe, I suppose, or whatever, or whatever it is. I've seen it all. And it's really an adventure. The thing is, it really is like it's an economic center up there. When it was closed, it was very strange.
Yeah.
Because they closed it. I can't remember why they had closed it, but they closed it for a while. I think they had some problems. And it actually kind of shocked all the surrounding businesses because back before they opened the Walmart and before they opened the Lowe's, like this is going back, and I don't know why we're talking about Livingston history, but we are. And so going back before the Lowe's opened, Ace was the thing, and Ace's the cool thing was those guys are pretty passionate about what they have. They have a lot of cool things. Well, Lowe's opens, it changed the game, and then people started not doing that. They were cheaper and all that. Well, when HEB came in, that was a big deal, and that was long before. So Brookshire Brothers had a problem there. Then when Walmart came in, though, everybody they didn't even know what to do, just because it was the buying power, everything like that. It really messed everything up there. Of course, it used to be dry too.
Yeah.
So if you're ever going 59 North and you see a little place on your right called Andy's Liquor, that used to be the most packed place I've ever seen on a Friday night because that was right before the county line. So everybody going up there was like, oh, better stock up now.
Yeah,
He's still there though.
Yeah. Oh, good, because that was a story of where I grew up.
Okay.
I was in a dry county, and then you drive down to Poinsett County, which was the next wet county, and it was literally a line down the highway for the drive-through on Friday and Saturday night.
I mean, it boggles my mind. It's like, look, you're all drinking anyway, whether you want to put it here or not. You're just missing out on the tax revenue.
Yeah.
Imagine the amount of other stuff you could do, like fixing roads and things, if you just didn't. And also the less drinking and driving.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because you had to wet your whistle on the way there because the wait was so long. So.
I mean, chances are good you had a couple beers and you were like, oh man, I'm out of beer. I guess we better get.
Yep.
All right, give me a roadie.
every time, every time.
Yep.
But man, yeah, the Walmart in Livingston you got to go. Like, just watch. It'll blow.
It's an experience.
It is.
I mean, it's
like the people of Walmart website.
They do happen to have quite a bit of. I'll bet they've got a relatively high number of tags for that.
Yeah, it's a lot of moo-moos.
Well, I mean, it's the culture. It's a different culture.
No, moo-moo's comfortable.
I
Very
love
practical.
wearing a kilt. It's basically the same thing.
Yeah, super comfortable. Let the wind, blow around underneath.
Yeah,
the
it's almost
whole
like wearing nothing.
Yeah, and
Which who doesn't like that?
right, yeah, for those all the grandmas wearing next to nothing. That's hot.
Ugh.
No, it's not.
No. Yeah.
Everybody just got a little. Everybody kind of went. Nah. It's like you tasted metal.
I tasted Werther's original from the bottom.
I'm
from
sure you did.
From the bottom of the purse.
Man with experience.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. I don't know where this is going. It's gone downhill
It's gotten strange.
fast.
Liquid lunch, everybody.
Yeah. Thursdays with Kennedy there as myself and Catherine. So let's talk about what's been going on in the last. Has it been 2 years?
2 years.
Over 2 years?
Yeah, because that was before we even expanded. We did that last summer, so it's a whole nother summer.
Jeez.
It's craziness.
Can we go ahead and schedule our next?
I mean, yeah, like 2020, roughly.
No, we got to do it more often than that. I'm gonna have to go to like 2 a week. That's all I've come. It's one of those.
That'd be
things,
good.
2 episodes a week, maybe. I don't know. Something.
You've been talking with a lot of good folk. I've been seeing a lot of guys out there. You've been over there talking to John and those guys, Casey, the guys at Bailenson. I haven't met them yet. So you've been getting around to all the a lot of new stuff that's happened, especially inside the loop and things like that.
Yeah.
So when you come up here, I'm kind of the one thing up here, but the guys at Southern Star, B52, all that, they're all up this way. So
Yeah.
we're not necessarily alone.
You can
and Genius, I guess, down the road.
I was gonna say you could group you in with Humble or with Conroe. You're
Yeah.
kind of you kind of straddle either one. So whatever wherever you're at,
Yeah.
you can drive because you're right here off 99.
99 and 59, it may look a little daunting, but it's really easy to get to.
No, like I'm at 290 and 99, which is halfway to Austin. And literally, it's one turn.
It's not.
So,
it's really easy.
It took me no time to get over here.
Yeah, since that has opened and they finished that up, it's been awesome.
Yeah, and then they're starting to do the next round to, I guess, down to I-10 East.
Yeah, they're going to work on that. Man, that's always a tough. Yeah, I'm glad that there's not much that I have to do over there, but that's going to be it's a big undertaking.
Mm-hmm.
Now that it's funny, you visit some other larger cities, you're like, oh yeah, we have the second loop. It's really awesome. I'm like, second loop.
We're almost done with number 3.
Yeah, like
Technically,
when are we
number 4.
When are we going? Yeah.
We're talking about 6, I guess.
Yeah,
It's kind
6
of a loop.
in
Oh, yeah.
1960.
It's kind of a loop.
Almost loops around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was sort of what they envisioned originally, right?
Yeah.
Like, so that way that's what they wanted to do with it.
Yeah.
But it just never, I guess somewhere along they were like, not this one. It doesn't feel, this one doesn't feel right, guys. Let's just kind of stop randomly for no reason. And we'll pick this project up with a brand new road. And everybody went, yeah.
Yeah, we'll charge for this road and charge a lot for it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
worth
let's get the state involved instead of just local. That'll be a good idea, so we can confuse everybody as to where their tolls are going and how to pay them.
Yeah, can we get one toll company? I mean, I know they kind of cross over now, but
Well, that's what messed everything up a little while back. Texas Tag and HCTRA all got messed up.
Yeah.
At the time, we were self-distributing, and they kept sending me all these fines. And I called them. I was like, I'm not going to pay this.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pay a fine because you couldn't figure out how to take my money. And now you just want me to pay like double the money. That's stupid.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, sir, we don't know. You just have to pay it. And I was like, that's really good rationale there.
yeah.
I was like, all right, well, come arrest me then for your $62 that I'm not liable for. And they were like, we can't do that. I was like, then what are you going to do? Like, this is weird. There's no bars that you can just, here comes their car. I'm going to put the bars down and mess their vehicle up. I mean, it's all open.
Good day, sir.
Yeah, it was weird. But then it came out that it was that big old deal, and everybody was getting all these overcharges because they couldn't figure that out. I was like, that's why if you have one toll, you go through, what was happening, you go through a toll booth, this much went to HCTRA and this much went to Texas Tag.
Mm-hmm.
But they have two different systems, and so they had to talk. Well, guess how well that worked, and that was the root cause of all of it. So
It's
it
not
was
the government I know.
it was just mind-boggling. I was like, look, I understand you should have just given a grant and been like, here, we're giving you this much money to do the project, and you run it, because the toll road HCTRA does a pretty good job with Hardy and Beltway 8 and stuff like that. It works. You just it's easy to deal with. why are we now having to call two people, have two accounts to go through the same thing?
Yeah.
My 4 wheels are still going under this one little thing, and
Yeah, you
yet
got
now
a
it's
picture
gotten
of it.
complicated. Yeah,
You know,
it's-
with a timestamp. If you don't believe me, go back and look. It was amazing.
you sent it to me.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I can't find it. Well, it was mailed to me, so
Let me take a picture on my phone. And
yeah,
send
here
it
I'll,
to
I'll email it to you.
Yeah.
Fax it to me, please.
We always-
fax, yes, because I've got a fax machine now.
We always wave when we go through. But that's the thing. Like in Austin, you go to Austin in that whatever that outside loop 40. No, I don't know whatever.
Oh,
when it
yeah,
goes around
yeah.
to Waco or whatever.
Yeah, they're weak. Only one loop there.
It's not even a loop, right?
Weak sauce.
Yeah.
But they even if you don't have a tag, they just bill you. They don't fine you. They just bill you.
And that was the original. The original idea behind HCTRA was basically if you go through, say, an easy tag lane and you don't have an easy tag,
Yeah.
there were things they could do. They were like, well, we can try to come tow your car. We can send you a fine. Basically, what they did was they sent you a fancy letter, and I don't know if anybody's ever gotten this letter. And it said, "Congratulations, you've just been signed up for an easy tag. You can find your easy tag enclosed. Please go online and sign up for it."
Yeah.
And I was like, that's kind of brilliant. I mean, it might piss people off too.
Yeah.
But I mean, the alternative is paying a fine. So I was like, why not just, at that point, if you're going to do it, but that, or I guess you can wait in the change line. But now they're getting rid of the change things, so you can't really, most of them don't even have that option
Yeah.
anymore.
It's Beltway. It's the only one. Do they still do it on Beltway?
They still have one or two stops. Yeah, the Hardys, I think they knocked them all out.
Yeah. Yeah. They should. They should put a tag, Texas tag, on every car sold in Texas, just automatically.
Just be like, look, it's if you don't use it,
Yeah.
but you have to put something in it. If not, the thing is, for us, they know if you're driving a vehicle that is at least registered at all, they know exactly how to find you.
Yeah.
The scary part is they could get your credit card and just be like, okay, charge, but they've turned out that was kind of illegal, so they couldn't do that. But they had that was an idea I heard floating around. I was like, all right, well, I get it, but at the same time, no. How about not that? So they didn't go that way. So
That's good.
But so we're here to talk about beer.
Yeah, legal brews.
Legal brews, legal brewing. Legal draft, that is a brewery, but not us. We're Backpeat Brewing. But so what did we pour you guys? I think it looks like I need to go get you all beer here.
Yeah, I was gonna say we got the IPA, which was obviously
You guys did the Tanuki, yeah.
Tanuki. Where's the name come? Hold on. Where's the Tanuki?
So it comes from me being a huge nerd, which I've expressed on multiple occasions, both being an engineer and just a huge nerd. But basically what it is, so Tanuki, it's this thing. If you ever Google it, look it up on Wikipedia. Basically, it was a raccoon figure in Japanese lore. Everything we do, typically we kind of play off the Christian lore kind of thing. Well, this one I was like, all right, let's do something different, and it's a shapeshifter.
Okay.
And so with Tanuki, this is Tanuki 2, and so every time I do a new one, I change the recipe. So I'll change the grain bill, I'll change the hops, I'll change the yeast, just because it keeps it fun, kind of a rotating IPA series. And number 2 is a big hit, so I did a bigger batch of it, so we have it on more often now. But that's kind of where it came from.
Okay. A Japanese shape-shifting raccoon.
But if you go deeper in the lore, again, if those of you Wikipediaing it, make sure your children are not there. He had these giant balls.
Of course he did.
And, again, so just go on there. You can check that out. There's some awesome pictures of what they are. There's, you can buy little miniature things of them.
Figurines.
But, yeah, figurines and things. But that's what it is. It's not, if we ever can it, that can't go in the can, I don't think. Get a little strange at that point. We have some other directions we'd like to take it more with a real little raccoon figure. But anyway, so that's what it was. That's where it came from. So we can change them up. Like I think I've done 4 different ones through that series, and I've got a few more recipes we want to try with it. This one was just popular, so I made a bigger batch of it. I thought it was pretty cool. I like the hop profile in it.
Yeah, delicious. Obviously, we killed it.
Is he really a raccoon, or did he just shapeshift into a raccoon? Because he could be anything he wanted. He could be anything he wanted.
I mean, I was not there at the inception, but no, that is the ultimate question. Like I said, this is where the interbrews and pubs. That's where things like that get discussed. So when was he a what?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or a her?
Or her.
Or
could
both.
He could be
It
male.
could be both.
I mean, if he does have big balls,
That's it indicates that.
Could it be,
does he actually have them or just like appear to have them?
or could they appear in different spots and make it instead of balls?
Oh, and now we're getting
Breasts.
into what?
You know?
What?
I'm just saying,
Well, I think it just
Slide
be.
him
Well,
up
then
there.
he wouldn't
Yeah.
be. Yeah.
He's not Willy Willy.
Could be a she.
Well, he could do anything he wanted.
Yeah.
Really? I think there's parameters for shape shifting.
I don't.
There's always parameters
Why?
because that's how
Like
stories.
water.
Water can only take the form of what it's in, though.
Exactly.
It can't
It's shape
not-
shifting.
Yes, but it has to take the form of what it's in. So there's limits to what water can be. It depends on what it's in, right?
Yeah.
So
They made a
I'm just
whole
saying, there's always rules
There's a movie about that.
about water, like water.
Yeah, The Shape of Water.
Oh, I thought you were talking about like Bruce Lee. Be like water.
That would be cool.
You can
Though.
be the softest or the hardest thing in the world.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it flow like water.
Well, Bruce Lee was awesome.
Yeah, he is. It was.
Still is.
Still is. But
I guess
yeah, he's.
if we're not careful, he might still kick us in the face from the grave.
I know.
Like, God, what? It hurts really bad. How did he do that?
The water in your
We'll never
beer
know.
was touched by Bruce
We'll
Lee
never know.
through
It
the
hurts
water.
going down, hits you in the teeth. Oh, man, it hurts.
So
Maybe we should. What beer did you have there? Christopher?
I forgot the
Saison.
name of it because I have a bad memory, but it was the Saison.
Oh, the Garnet Pietist, the raspberry ginger saison.
Oh, wow. It was
sounds-
really good.
Good. I'm glad you enjoy it.
Yeah.
We just did a candy run of that. That's starting to pop up around town, so you can find your HEBs, your Krogers, your Specs. We're just takes a little while to get it out there the right way through all the avenues with this new. With anytime you release a new beer, but hopefully in the future we have a little less issue with that. But it's I'm glad you enjoy it. It's tasty.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe we pause and get
Great,
refills.
great summer beer.
Yeah. Let's
Yeah.
pause and get refills because man, we killed those beers quick. So we'll do that. You'll never know we're gone. We're just gonna refill.
All right.
That's the
All right.
beautiful thing about pausing.
Yeah.
Still streaming on the live. Y'all are good. I'll just talk to the person listening. Hey man.
What do you guys want this time?
The person. Oh, you've got a big fan club, by the way.
do
Lots
I?
of people have been jumping on saying they love you.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
It should be.
You want the saison? Cool.
Yeah. Surprise me. That one's fine. That would be anything would be fine. But that just surprised me.
No, I'll try that IPA. Yeah.
Now, Kennedy, when you stream to Liquid Lunch's Facebook page, it should automatically stream to the Interbrews page. I set it up
No,
like that.
I'm streaming to Interbrews page.
You are streaming to the Interbrews page.
Yeah, and
Then
then,
it-
then I just share.
It should. Well, it should also stream on the Liquid Lunch page. I put them up so they both stream everything together.
Well, I shared the link on Liquid Lunch, so.
Okay.
We got a
I
Liquid
don't know.
Lunch.
Maybe it's just from my
We're-
computer.
I'm getting like Liquid Lunch video so.
Okay.
It's
I don't
there,
understand what's going on there. For some reason, it should all do, but maybe it's just from my
too. It is.
computer.
We're everywhere.
Cruising cooler.
Yeah,
Hey there, Brian.
we are literally everywhere.
Nice.
you.
We're everywhere. Thin Mints for the win, Heather. We've talked about it, I know for sure. I don't want to say that I have or have not. Some fear of commitment over here. We're still streaming though, right? Are you you're getting
actually,
the audio?
and Banana Show's watching us on Liquid Lunch.
Hey Heather, how you doing? Where did they just went to? What was it, the Black Labrador? They've been all over the place.
Yeah, she's all over. She's all over Instagram.
Yes. Brian at Cruising Cooler. Hey Dan. Who else is watching today? There's Robert. Hey Robert. Twisted Acre getting ready to
No,
be.
we're getting. Yeah, we're.
Ooh, look, we've jumped up in likes. Look
Yeah.
at that. Oh, hey Celeste, how you doing?
I don't want to go there for that. If I want to go there, I'd go there.
Exactly. Yeah. So like here, I just really want you to get into what.
The one.
So,
Let's look at the comments here.
so
Whoops,
Sylvia
sorry, my bad.
Benavides
Hey Sylvia.
of Galveston
Hey,
GPO
Brandon. Yeah.
is she's requesting a black IPA right now.
A black IPA from,
Yeah.
from what do you mean requesting one? You'd like to drink one?
Yeah, she's asking you to pour her one right now.
I'd love to. If that's it's definitely a great beer, and we do have some fans out there with it, and so that is delicious. If anybody's interested in going that route, it's a big beer. It's a very big beer, complex beer.
Okay. All right, back to recording the pod. Hey, we're back.
After these, we'll have to go to these Canto, these barrel-aged beers that we were opening and share those. Those are share beers. Those are not sit down with a 12-ouncer of that, unless you're not going anywhere else.
Right, if you got the time and the inclination and
Exactly.
and a
Which
place
we are having to go somewhere else today.
We're not going to talk about it. Black Habit, right?
Yep. So Josh is going for Black Habit, which is our Schwartz beer, which is a black
Delicious.
lager. Gives you those great crisp. It's actually the lightest beer in our portfolio. It's not Blue Testament. Blue Testament's got a little bit more roundness to it because of the protein in the corn. This is lighter, even though it's the darkest beer in the Saint line because it's that black color. But the great thing about German roasted grains is that you get more of that chocolate spectrum. You don't get the kind of chicory and anise spectrum you get out of the British roasted grains.
That's
And
delicious.
then you switched to the Garnet Pietist and you went to the Tanuki.
You got a little
Huh?
thing on your beard. Yeah.
Sorry.
The aftermath.
I get it, yeah.
You can call it the aftermath.
Beards are a nightmare for meals. Like fried eggs, forget it. You need like a pressure washer after a good fried egg if it's cooked right.
Or it's the best thing for fried eggs because you can have them like a couple hours later.
Oh,
Well,
yeah,
they
breakfast
still-
was good.
Yeah, they solidify though. That's the problem. It's like it just instantly just.
It's like candy, just
Yeah, egg candy. Egg flavored candy. I love fried eggs though. What's better than a fried egg?
You can't have a good custard without eggs.
It's true.
Yeah.
From a man that makes custard on a near weekly basis. Dude makes some pies. He can pie it up. When's the last time you made it? You've been out of the pie game for a little while though.
I have been out of the pie game, but I did bake a delicious peach cobbler a couple of weekends when we were on Lake Livingston.
Perfect.
Oh, that's perfect for
Throws-
that's great cobbler territory.
Did you throw down some Bluebell vanilla bean?
No.
What? Son.
You went
Well,
straight, huh?
yeah. The problem
it's not
is
bad, but-
the problem is we got all the groceries before we went, and I didn't want it to like melt on.
Yeah.
Even though I had it in
Rookie mistake. Got to have a cooler.
Should've
Well, I
gone to-
did.
should've
No,
gone to
no.
Walmart.
I did have a cooler, but then we ended up going to Brookshire Brothers anyway. So
Should have grabbed some of that
yeah,
Bluebell, man.
yeah, I should have.
You throw a big scoop of that right on top of that hot cobbler, and it melts down in there, and then that ooze.
Oh yeah, we had it fresh out of the oven.
Put that in your beard.
Yes, that's worth
Put
having.
that in your beard and lick it.
Yeah, you smell good all day.
Somebody smells like fresh baked goods, and it's fantastic. You can be like, "That's me."
Yeah, Ode de Cobbler.
Hey, so how did this back pew come about?
So when
The property, the land.
Yeah. So I had started the idea. So I'm from Houston. I was born in Tomball. Grew up in the Spring Klein area.
Okay,
Go
yeah.
Bearcats.
Come on, I live over there.
Yeah,
Wait, is that
yeah,
Sam
so-
Houston?
No, I was Klein High.
Did they still do eat 'em up cats there, or is that just a Sam?
At Klein High?
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't go to the games.
Okay.
I told you I was a nerd. I was not that crowd.
What were you doing on Friday nights? You were just like
I was
math
probably
equations.
Yeah,
or
I was actually doing calculus and stuff. So.
doing like fantasy glycol repairs. Like
I didn't know yet. There was so much to learn. But no. First, you just have to do the bulk work. But no. So I did that, and then I got into brewing when I was in my undergraduate. I went to Trinity University over in San Antonio, and when I was taking just you can see the thread of my life. So I was taking a course when I was in engineering, and it was fermentation sciences or environmental engineering, and a big part of that is fermentation. We were modeling it with math. And at that time, I was roughly 21, plus or minus some.
give or take.
It's college. And I said, you know what else fermentation does besides all of this is beer. And so I convinced our professors, like, we should go. At the time, one of the only breweries there was Blue Star Brewing. And so, we go over there, and I tried to get a crowd to go over there. It ended up being me and, like, one other person. So much for the love of it from everybody else. But that's when I started getting interested in it. So I had my cousin who was working in the oil field. He was here in Houston. I said, hey, you have money, right? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, all right, well, I sent him to Northern Brew. I said, see this? I sent him the link. I said, just buy that. And he goes, or is that everything? I was like, just do it. And so we got together, we brewed it, and it turned out great. It was a Sierra Nevada Pale Ale clone. We followed the rules. We were all nervous. If you've ever brewed beer for the first time, you're all nervous, just following the rules. You're like, all right, step one. Did you do step one? Yes, I did step one. And you move on. And of course, because it came out well, the second beer we made, again, I made him go buy all the ingredients, but we were at DeFalco's at their old place, that first spot.
Yeah.
And we thought, this isn't that hard. So we started being like, we need some of that, we need some of this. Did not come out great. Not because, it just was, that's when I said, hey, there's more to learn. So I started, really getting involved with it. When I went up to Nashville in 2009 to do some graduate work, I got a lot more involved in it. So homebrewing from the homebrew side, got involved in the homebrew groups. Awesome dudes up there, very willing to teach. They want you to come out and see them brew. They're willing to tell you whatever you want. So it was really cool. Then I got involved professionally first, just like, at the time, this was, around 2010, they just, brewers would just be like, hey, we need somebody to come help put labels on bottles. We'll give you a 6-pack when you leave. And of course, you're like, oh, whoever can. Like, oh yeah, I'll come do it. So you do, all that kind of work. And then I met some guys who were going to go pro. So they were going from a garage operation, it was like a 15-gallon setup, to a 20-barrel system. And at the time, I was switching over from the math science side to the business side. I said, that's a great opportunity. And they were really good about coaching on both sides, about the ops side and about the business, really how it works. And so that's how it came to be. But I wanted to come home to do it because I figured from both a market perspective as well as just where I wanted to be, it made a lot of sense. And so I came back down here, found investors, and at first we were Saints and Sinners Brewing Company. That is still our LLC name, but it's trademarked, so it could no longer be that. But before we had to change it and found out about that, we're looking at properties. We thought like East Downtown would be super cool, go get like an old Art Deco manufacturing facility. But at the time, that was like 2014, it was a very hot market in Houston. And the larger oil companies were doing things like, if they had something in an industrial park, they would pay to kick the other tenants out because they wanted the whole thing. So it was relatively nerve-wracking. At the time, I was getting the investors to see how much you have to put into getting a place ready for a brewery. Cutting floor drains, moving everything around. Nothing's set up for a brewery unless you built it for a brewery. It's just the way it is. And so because of the pricing and everything, because it was insane, and a lot of them were like, yeah, this is a really cool building. It was old, defunct, whatever, and it's got asbestos, and we're going to charge you a lot of money. I was like, all right, we got to rethink this. And that's when we kind of was like, well, we used to go up in that area a lot. I wonder if there's anything up there. There's no breweries up there. And this came on our radar. I had 14 acres, old church, and our name Saints and Sinners. Like, all right, we can make that work. That's super cool. Ended up working out. That's when we found out about the name problem, and we had to think about it. I was like, man, we cannot give up. That's like great marketing, that's it, and it works with. I can still pull it in, and so I met some guys who are much more creative than me. That was the only creative thing I've ever done in my life. Like, I love cooking, I love brewing, but as far as like you ask me to draw pictures, it's gonna be stick figures. I like things symmetrical. I'm an engineer to the core. Like, our logo being crooked just bothers me to tears, but it does. It looks right. I mean, they're right. It looks better because that's why we have people who are good at that. Our branding guys are good at that. And so I got with them, and they threw a bunch of names out there, and it really worked because in the back pew, like kind of in the Baptist lore, I guess, that's where the saints and the sinners sat. So your saints being the people who sing the loudest or in church all the time, they stick them in the back so everybody else can hear the preacher. And the sinners are the guys who are out drinking even though they shouldn't have been. They're hungover, and they leave early to throw up. So it really tied everything together because that was really, the saint and the sinner thing is really what I think it doesn't always get out there, that message, because, you need a couple taps to show it. But anything in the Saint lines, your sessionable, approachable beers, anything in the center line, that black handle or black can, those are your bigger, more robust, higher alcohol beers. Because I find, especially as more and more breweries go into package or just are in general or here, that decision matrix is hard, even for craft brewers or guys who are into craft beer. Because like, well, what do I want to drink? Like, IPA. Well, how, you have to really start thinking about maybe looking up, like if you're trying to look for a new beer, what kind of flavors are they bringing with that IPA? Are they bringing with that Pilsner? With the newer craft beer drinkers, they have no clue the difference.
Yeah.
So you take that decision matrix and turn it to, do I want something light and easy to drink, or do I want something bigger, more robust, and alcoholic? And so that was kind of the base of it all. And so we were able to tie it together.
Yeah, and it works. I always do that when I go to the beer aisle. That's the thing. I always get like, I sit there and think, what am I in the mood for? And then by the time I get home, I'm like, I should have gotten that other beer as well. But now I'm out of room in my beer fridge. It's gotten out of hand. I either need to have a party.
You need more friends.
Well,
not like a mean way, but if you want to share at least one time, you could be,
Maybe. I'd have to, I don't mind having people over to hang out.
It's amazing what happens. You're like, hey, we need to drink a bunch of beer. All of a sudden, everybody's like, dude, I haven't seen you in like 3 years. How come? Yeah, let's do it. I'm like, cool.
Yeah. So was the production room out there? Was that the warehouse? Was that there, or did y'all put that up there?
No, both were here. Yeah.
Both
so
were here.
What we're sitting in now is considered the quote unquote old church. It was, I think, it was built somewhere in the. It's hard to tell. I have a lot of lore. I've had a lot of people tell me a lot of different things about this place. I think it was built somewhere in the early '80s. And then that building was acquired and put up in '94 to '96.
Okay.
And so, that's what I needed really. The cool thing about this site is that I always envisioned this being a tap room and then that other side of the building being office space, and that leaves the metal building for the production area. And so that way it works out. It kind of keeps people safe so that when we have people in there, it should be, a safe environment for them. If not, we're in production, they don't really need to be in there. And then in the meantime, you have a place that they can always come and hang out and see what we do. And so it took us a little while to get there, but we're finally there.
Yeah. What about all your area, your field here in the back? I know you said 14 acres?
Yeah, we have 14 acres. So at the front, that gives us a lot of parking in the back. It gives us all the place to spread out. You see, we have a stage. Every Saturday we have a band, all that good stuff. We just sponsored Springboard Music Fest, which was it was a kind of indie music festival, getting a lot of guys some exposure, which is super cool. And then Sunday we had a concert with five of the acts there, and they were absolutely awesome.
That's cool.
The bummer is it's a summer music festival in Houston, so it wasn't exactly the turnout we were hoping for, but that's okay. It was also year one, so it takes time to build these things, and so you got to start. So we're not like depressed about it or anything. It's just I was a little nervous about the time of year. I think I'm still right in that. I'd like to move it, but that's okay. Again, you live, you learn, and you see what happens.
As I know too, I think the first time I was here was y'all had a crawfish. It was a crawfish festival right here. This is when everything was. This wasn't here. The bar was still over there. The crawfish kind of in that. Go out the back door, make a right, and that's just kind of where the
food. That's where the food still is, and so we still have the food vendors pull up over there because we let them plug in for power, so that way they don't have to run their generators and things like that. We still do crawfish, of course, when it's crawfish season.
Right.
But we always have a food vendor out here on Saturdays. We're trying to get them for the other days, but because we're up here north a little bit, it's hard for those guys to, depending on the crowd level. The food trucks aren't exactly. They've been in market a little while. They're not always the most reliable motor, and they're not exactly fuel efficient.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that we set them up for success. We don't want to come out here just to eat it. We do want them to have a crowd that'll get them by. But like on Friday night and things like that, while we're building the crowd, it's harder. So we found some guys here locally, I think, that will be able to start bringing food in more than just Saturday. But right now, guaranteed Saturday. Might pull one from John Denman and get a hot dog roller for Thursdays, but I don't know about that. We'll see.
Yeah, the old hot dog. This would have Mike's a hot dog enthusiast. He's He's considering starting his own hot dog podcast. Inner dogs.
Well, how do you feel about corn dogs? It seems like you would have some strong opinions.
Love them. Great.
Love 'em. Okay,
Great.
so you're still
you-
good.
It's all in the same family.
He prefers dogs to burgers.
Huh.
That's how passionate he is.
Yeah.
Well, the guys at Moon Tower must be like your best friends. I mean, they do a great job.
Oh, you got a scoot? All right. TD Mike, everybody.
He needs a hot dog.
Yeah, he's going to go
It's
grab
hot dog time.
Is
So if
there
I had
a-
the roller, we'd keep him. Good to see you, man.
Yeah. Just scoot on down the road. Bye, Mikey. We'll keep you. You don't have to finish that beer. We can finish it for you if you.
He's going to. He's going to. I like it. Dedication.
Yeah, no, he's dedicated to his craft. He's not just going to abandon
The
you know,
cause.
The cause, yeah. He's going to say his 2 cents and then finish the beer and then go wherever he's going. I think Fight Crime is that your other? He's a firefighter and all the other stuff he does.
Have you ever considered competitive hot dog eating?
Oh, have you ever? Yeah. Of
He
course
shook
has.
his head yes. He shook his head yes.
Mike is part goat. People don't appreciate that about him, but he can eat anything and he eats it. He doesn't chew.
Yeah.
He's like a goat, boa constrictor hybrid.
Oh, there he goes.
He just kind of unhinges his jaw.
He's like, all right, that's enough talking about my jaw.
Yeah, he's an accomplished eater, and it's really pretty impressive to watch.
Yeah.
I'm like, did you even taste that? He's like, nah, I'm good.
That's not the point.
Yeah, it's not what we're doing here. Can we talk about the Schwartz beer? I mean, I know you did earlier. But it's
Sure.
lighter, darker. It's lighter and darker. It's like a
It is
like a
darker in color, lighter in flavor, and on the palate.
that is fantastic.
And that's the cool thing about it. The tricky part about something that I'm very passionate about being that, and I can say this because I'm the brewer owner guy. We are passionate about looking for the kinds of beers we want to put in market.
Mm-hmm.
When I look at the landscape, and there's absolutely, I'm not saying this in terms of a negative standpoint. A lot of new breweries coming out, and a lot of breweries, generally in their offering, will follow a certain pattern.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes, it's like a pale ale, an IPA, a blonde of some sort, and maybe a stout or a porter.
Mm-hmm.
Ale-based beers, again, nothing wrong with any of that. But I just think that there's this whole world that, as craft brewers in America, we don't usually look at, per se. And that's that kind of German brewing, lagering, things like that, because there's these beautiful flavors you can extract.
Yeah.
Knowing how to do it takes a different kind of analysis. And so if you're passionate about drinking things like IPAs and porters and stouts and big stouts, that's what you're going to learn. That's what you're really going to spend time learning how to brew, and you're going to keep brewing them. And that's cool. Again, I'm not saying that's wrong. But I guess, have attenuated to these, and I think that there's a whole lot of credence to doing it the right way. And there's these beautiful flavors that are just not necessarily seen. And so that's what we bring to the table in terms of once people try them, I think they really get what we're trying to do.
It's really best of both worlds because you get lots of flavor, and it's a very good summer beer. Like people think fruity, light,
Yeah.
That kind of like wit beers and things like that. But it's like a cool, like I don't know, like a cool, like almost like out by if you could do a campfire, you know what I'm saying? It's like it's roasty. It makes you think.
Well, what I like about something like the Schwartz beer, where that you get that lager character, and I think Sweet Salvation to some degree does that because it is in the St. Line, it's more sessionable. But this one for sure, I do enjoy roasted flavors. The problem is I really don't want to crack open a 10.5 Russian Imperial Stout or Imperial Porter in the middle of summer.
Yeah.
If I'm sitting outside because I'm probably grilling, either hanging by the pool, you're hot as hell.
Yeah.
But this one allows you to not just be bogged down.
Yeah.
While you're drinking it, but you still get to enjoy those flavors, but they're light enough that you're like, cool, I can keep drinking it.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of drinking both, in general, but especially when it's hot in Texas.
Yeah, because people think camping in the summer, and it's a good thought. But when you actually put it into practice, camping in the summer, F that.
Hey, that's why people buy campers, man. Air conditioning,
Yes.
You take it with you.
Yeah, if God had wanted us to sleep outside, he wouldn't have given us air conditioning and roofs and like rooms.
Hey, one of my favorite lines is from Dogma. If anybody's seen Dogma, and at the time, one of he played Brody on Mallrats. He walks in and he's a demon guy. And he said, "There's no pleasure, no exquisite sin greater than central air." And so he's a demon. He's just loving on this air conditioning. So I was like, I think, I don't know how many people seen that movie, but more people should appreciate that line, especially in Texas, because you almost live air condition to air condition.
A lot of good lines in that movie. I don't know that it gets the appreciation.
And Alanis Morissette was God.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
was
was quite where Kevin Smith said, "You know what I'm going to do." I don't know how he came up with it, but it was a brilliant move. I think it was well done. But no, I love Alan Rickman. Having absolutely no genitalia. That was also in that movie.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's a good. It's I don't know. I don't think it gets the play that all those like Mallrats gets all the
Mallrats
love.
gets some, and there's going to be a Mallrats 2, and so we're going to see about that. But so when I was watching something, I can't remember, it was some interview with Kevin Smith, and he was talking about it. He was like, when I did Dogma, I think it was leading up to doing Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, which was supposed to be just stupid, which it was.
Yes.
He said, I just done Dogma, and we did something, generally his movies, especially at that time, you think back to Clerks, that was that early '90s angst, all about basically the dialogue, which was just kind of what we grew up with. That's what we did. And I think he did a great job with it. And Dogma, to the same degree, was like that. Mm-hmm. But he said, I never would have imagined the amount of hate things I got for Dogma. People throwing rocks through his window, stuff like that, like burning hell. He's like, it was really bad. And that's what led him in doing Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. He's like, I'm going to do a dick and fart joke movie. and that's going to be it. There's no way people get mad at it. He said people are still mad at it.
Yeah.
And so it was unbelievable. But that's kind of where that came from. And, that's where that came from. And, but all of that was well written. He does a great job. He has some fun movies. But yeah, that was Dogma, I think, just more because of the polarization of what he was just kind of not necessarily talking about, making fun of and using. I think that kind of threw people off a little bit. I mean, you had Chris Rock, who was the Black Apostle, the Forgotten Apostle. I mean, he went ahead and just went full bore into it. He didn't mess around. He's like, let's make some other fun things up. Jesus was black and all that. And so they sat there talking about that with rhetoric for a while. And it's just not done very often like that. And he did it in a relatively high-profile way that, and he also did it in a funny way where it's like, guys, it's a movie. I mean, we're having fun.
Yeah.
Don't get all pissy about, but people did anyway. So.
I mean, it's the guy that did Tusk. Did you ever see Tusk?
Oh God.
Yeah.
That movie's awful.
It's a chore. It's a chore. I like the line where they're not in Tusk in Dogma, where they're driving in the little like a hatchback Honda or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
The Rabbit or the Volkswagen Rabbit one. He's like, what gear are we in?
Yeah, gears.
What do you mean gear? And then the whole bottom drops out of the car. That's right.
I've never driven before.
Yeah, that was the first time I had a manual transmission, right? Like I'd just gotten it, so I felt like better than my friends. Like, y'all can't even drive a manual transmission. So it's like, of course I know what gears are. That's hilarious. So that's my favorite line from that movie. What were we talking about? Oh, yeah, Mallrats. Mallrats 2.
Yeah.
When is that coming out?
We're talking about air conditioning, I think.
Oh,
we're talking about.
yeah, AC. The best.
I don't know how they lived before AC.
How was it? Like, that's what I don't understand.
Sticky, slowly.
How is
you didn't
Houston
move
a
much.
thing?
You didn't move much. I think there was that like the old picture of that guy just sitting on a porch. Mm-hmm. It's hot out. I think that's pretty much what everybody did.
Yeah, that was actually, it was like, hold still. No problem.
Yeah.
I mean,
the only thing moving is the
whole existence of humankind. We've only had AC for maybe like the last
100 years?
70 years or so.
I think 100.
Yeah, but I don't think it was widely used until...
Not air conditioning. They probably could make ice, that kind of thing.
Well, okay, so 1918. Yeah. Well, there's the house here in the Rice Village that had the first AC.
Oh, yeah.
So it had all the valves and all the stuff. Like, you had to have a servant out there turning valves to...
Yeah, everyone used to go to the watch the movies because that was the only place there was AC.
Yeah, can you imagine the funk? There's kind of like a perpetual funk everywhere. Everybody stunk. I guess it was fine, though.
But
everybody did. It's kind of like when people walk in from, like, if they're outside a little bit, they're sweating like, oh, man, I'm sorry. I was like, dude, it's Houston summer. You were outside for like 5 minutes. It's just what's going to happen. Your body is working correctly. If you're not sweaty, we might need to go to the hospital.
Yes,
like you're dehydrated. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's just roll with that.
I'll say I spent the weekend in the hill country up in Marble Falls.
Oh, right.
Much drier.
Yeah.
You sweat a lot more. I mean, I like instant sweat because I don't know. Because here you sweat, but it's like, you just kind of feel like one with the air.
It never evaporates, yeah.
Yeah. There, you're just like, and you burn real fast, too. Just like, whoa. It was hot.
Crisp up.
Yeah. 100 plus every day.
Yeah.
Even in the pool, you're like, I can't put any, I just need my nose above water. And then I'm good.
Snorkel.
Yeah. But a lot of good beer. A couple good breweries up there in Marble Falls. Mm-hmm. We'll talk about that later, though. But Save the World. They were good.
Awesome.
Shout out. Yeah. So if
you guys want to try these barrel-aged beers?
Yep.
You're almost ready for that?
Yep. Do we have an opener? You got, of course.
Of course.
Well, so that's funny. People have asked us, hey, why don't, like, at beer festival and stuff, you get some custom Backpew Brewing bottle openers out and give them away? I was like, well, because we can generally. So if I give you a bottle opener, you're opening not my beer. So it's kind of weird. And they have those keys and things. But so for those viewers at home, I suppose, I'll show the fancy labels. So These are Cantos 1 and 2. So this was our first foray into barrel-aged, into our barrel-aged world. And so what we did was I got some Booker's bourbon barrels, and what I did put in there was our Imperial Milk Stout, which we call Active Belore. And, again, knowing us and being me, what I first wanted to do was I was like, okay, there's a lot of barrel-aged beers coming out, and a lot of them have a lot of things in them. And they have these kind of peppers and these kinds of cocoa nibs and these kinds of vanilla beans and these kinds of coffee beans. And I said, there's a lot of great things to be said for simplicity and time. And so with the first one, which is Canto 1, that's the Active Belore Imperial Milk Stout and Booker's bourbon barrels that we let sit for a year. And so what you're going to get out of that is you're going to get a lot of the bourbon. You're going to get the oak. Of course, you're going to have the base beer, which I feel is very solid. And that's what you're going to get out of Canto 1. Canto 2, when we get to it, if anybody's been to Underdogs in Washington, Dustin and Steve, we actually put their coconut cream pie shot in that one and aged it for that same year.
Now you're talking.
And so what you get out of that, the coconut, because of the fat in the coconut, he uses a lot of coconut milk as well. So it's sweeter because of the coconut milk.
Okay.
The fat kind of reduces the amount of bourbon flavor you get through it, but you still get the oak. And so it's very nice and creamy in a different way. And in my opinion, when you do different variants like that, instead of it just tasting like the beer plus, like if it tasted like I dropped a shot of Booker's in it, I wouldn't need to wait a year. I just get Booker's and drop it in the beer. That it actually elevates it from the base beer. And so we'll see what you guys think, though.
Well, here, do the honors.
Very good. Where's it? Give me his glass, because he doesn't need it. He left before the money.
Yeah. Sorry, Mike. He'll have to listen to this one and be envious. Oh, look at that. It even sounds delicious.
It sounds. I should do it on the mic.
Ooh, wow. Smell that. I wish that's the problem with podcasts. There's no smell. Actually, probably a bonus most of the time, but every once in a while.
Smell-o-vision is coming.
Smell-o-vision. That would be.
It's coming.
How do you transfer? You'd have to transfer smells across the internet.
It's all brain-based, right?
Yeah.
I would imagine. Just
ones and zeros somehow.
Somebody will figure out how to turn them into that.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Something. Yeah, triggers a electrode in your brain.
So I did. I let these. They were in the fridge. We actually generally I store all my beer cold until we package it, whether it be kegs or cans of Blue, Satyrs, hop, everything that's all cold stored. After we bottle these, I actually leave them in our production facility. Keep in mind they were in there for a year, and since they were bottled, carbonated, all that stuff, it's gonna do nothing. But maybe it's not really gonna help hurt. I waited until I wanted to stop time. That's why I gave it that full year. And I was sampling the barrels. I waited till 6 months to sample it for the first time because I knew it'd be too young.
Yeah.
And the year, so I'm a big fan of, in terms of when I drink spirits, I'm more of a Scotch guy. So I like that longer amount of time. Not that I get to drink it very often because I am a brewer. I decided to start my own business. But when I do, that's what I like to drink. The bourbons oftentimes are too sweet, like Jack Daniel's, stuff like that. They're very young. It seems like they need more time.
Yeah.
And so when I approach the barrel aging side of things, I think the same thing. You got to wait till it tells you it's ready. So try it. And I mean, would it have tasted? It was a lot more bourbony. It was a little bit harsher early on, and then finally around that 1 year mark, it wasn't a magical number. It just happened to be where I said, "That's it. It's mellowed enough, and it's come together enough to where I think it will really work."
Yeah.
Yeah. What I like about this, usually these big thick beers like this, I get that boozy taste.
Yeah.
I don't get it at all with this.
That's what time gave it, because I can tell you earlier
so
on,
good. Yeah.
when you get a barrel, because we got them fresh. I got wet barrels. Which means that they were just emptied by Booker's. So we got them within 2 weeks of them being emptied. We would have got them sooner, actually, except of all things, the barrel broker I use had to go to their Maine facility to be checked out, make sure that they're all in good shape. So I went to Maine, and there was a snowstorm, so nothing could get in or out of Maine.
Yeah.
So they were sitting there, but at the same time, it was an ice storm, so nothing was happening to the barrels either.
Yeah.
But then they finally got them to us, and we were able to fill them. But I mean, that's just what time does. But there's enough residual liquor in the bottom, and that's usually, you hear about these guys leaving that little bit in there. And so just for fun, I've also heard about how harsh that is. But I said, I'm going to find out for myself. So I pulled a little bit out and tried it. That spirit is very harsh that's left in there. That's why a lot of times bourbon guys will go back through a charcoal filter, help mellow it out. And so because it was harsh, I was like, man, I think that'll mellow out. And it ended up mellowing out, but it took time. And so that's where those first 6-8 months trying it, I was like, man, it's still too harsh. And I think that residual spirit that was in there was a big part of that, because it was harsh.
I smell figs.
Really smooth.
Figs.
I smell
really
figs.
smooth. Yeah.
There's a new. I don't know that it's new, but there's a documentary on talking about process. There's a documentary on Hulu called Neat.
Okay.
Story of Bourbon.
Oh.
And it's a really good, really well made documentary and fun to watch. But he talked about it's rare for a distiller to be able to taste their like first batch. You don't even get to try it until its full potential until like 24 years later or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, and then maybe your second batch you get to try, at 40, after you've been into it. It's very rare for a distiller to get to try his third batch fully, meaning its full potential and how it will fully age at the end of that.
Because he's died of old age?
Yeah. He's
not around anymore.
Yeah, it's like you leave this legacy, and it's just the next generation that's, getting to try what you did when you were, back then.
Yeah.
So
it's a wild world, and and I don't mean this in a negative way, but they group together winemaking and brewing and alcohol or liquor, spirits, bourbon, whatever, like they're all very similar. And there are parts that are.
Yeah.
But there's also some other parts that are not. And that's where, people are like, well, you started a brewery, why don't you start a distillery? And I said, that's a very different approach. Because if you think about it, if you're trying to start a whiskey distillery or a bourbon distillery, you're looking at waiting, in my opinion, a good 8 to 10 years before you really want to put product out. That's an undertaking. So the guys doing that, I mean, hats off to them for doing it. Now they're taking some different approaches. They're aging for 6 months or whatever. But I can tell you, were we to do it, I would definitely be like, all right, we're going to wait, the requisite amount of time to do it, which in my mind would at least be 8 to 10 years.
That's really good. I kind of need a moment here. Trying like
take a moment.
Yeah, no. If you like with the aroma, you just have to kind of dig in there, and it's like it takes a little bit, and you get more layers. Like your nose has to adjust. And so first I got figs, and then it was like I was trying, what is that flavor? It's like we used to get these. There's a barbecue joint back in my hometown in Arkansas, and they do these fried pies, and they do one that were chocolate, and like the chocolate would get cooked and fried, and there's kind of like that element there, but a little more fruity, but like a fried chocolate pie with like dark fruit added or something. It's like that's what it takes me back to.
Sultry.
Yeah. No, it's really that's really good. This is where I kind of need to pause and just be like, give me a moment. This is one of those beers. What's the ABV on this one?
It's still sitting about, I would say it's a roughly 10.5, because there was that little bit of residual spirit, but it sat in Houston weather, which the higher the humidity, the more the alcohol comes out.
Yeah.
So after a year, I would say it's about level.
Okay, that's really good.
And just as a quick note, this is half marketing plug, half also just so people know, these beers are only for sale through the tap room, and so they weren't TABC label approved necessarily, but you don't have to when you sell beers through the tap room that way.
Okay.
And that's because I didn't know, in terms of wanting to get it done at the back end to move it through market. We weren't producing that much of it. I said, is it really worth it? I said, no, let's just make it a tap room thing. So we still have bottles for sale here and things like that, but it did not go to market. Yeah. So if you're wondering where I find it, you were never able to find it anywhere local. You have to come to the brewery again. And we still have plenty here to sell, but that's kind of just a little thing about it where, because it's such kind of a living thing, when you put into a barrel, the ideal barreling conditions are somewhere around 70% humidity and like 68 degrees.
Yeah.
And the big guys have those.
Yeah.
We had Houston weather, which over the past year,
yeah,
all over the place.
Yeah.
All the time. I mean, mostly though, it's hot and humid. That's what It's what was it like last summer? Probably hot and humid. So it's just a little bit different.
I wonder, when they're coming up with that. So you think of like bourbon and whiskey and all that kind of stuff. Like, I don't know what the weather's like in Ireland. It seems like it'd be much colder and less humidity.
Yeah.
Like, did they always say, it needs to be at this relative humidity to be proper? But did you ever try, because this tastes pretty damn good. Maybe the high humidity, maybe that it adds something to it. Because
there's a lot of theories out there. I've talked to some distilleries about it. There are theories on why would you put a whiskey out after 6 months and all of these things. There's these theories about the smaller barrels and the number of times they say the liquid turns in the barrel and all of these things. And I've gotten responses from across the board. Last time I met the Balcones guys, and I asked them about the small barrel theory, and in their opinion, they were like, "That's all horseshit. It's just a small barrel. That means you make a lot less of it."
Yeah.
That was their opinion. But then there's other guys who have very different opinions. They said, "No. It actually turns more, so it means it's more mature faster." Again, being that I'm a whiskey guy and a Scotch guy, I'm like, why would the Scots wait 18, 21, 25 years to really say, let's drink this? Yeah. And it's not because they just have all this free time on their hands. And to my palate, I think that it helps it mature and mellow out. But you got to think the places of the great bourbons, the places of the great Scotch, Scotland, Ireland, and a lot of the bourbons come out of Kentucky. They come out of places like that. those environments, you're right, they do get a winter. But if you go to like Jack Daniel's Distillery, a lot of those places where they held them were back kind of almost in a mountain where it was more regulated year round, the humidity and the temperature. They didn't do it on purpose, but that's where they started putting it. And I think that's because, just like with beer, what batches tasted good and which batches didn't taste good. And eventually they figured out, well, with beer yeast, they were like, well, this batch tastes bad, I'm going to dump that. This one's good, that weird stuff at the bottom, I'm going to put more stuff on top of that, and we'll keep using that. And eventually, selectively, you figure it out.
Yeah.
Maybe not like knowingly, like, oh, well, this is yeast, and it's a single-cell organism. That took past year to find out.
Yeah.
I'm talking more like if we do these processes, I get better spirit, I get better beer, and then that just kind of leads you on. I'm sure the spirits couldn't have been that different in terms of like, okay, if we age it here, it turns out really good in 7 years. If we age it here, it's still awful in 7 years.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how it helped regulate. Now we know more about why that is.
Yeah.
But I'll bet that's kind of where that came from and why those centers of hot spots for where the good stuff's coming from come from. It's kind of like, why is California a great wine growing region? Well, it has to do with where they are.
Yeah.
You do that in South Texas, sadly, it's not quite as good.
Yeah.
And things like that. So it really does interplay on how that all works out.
Yeah. That whole process with whiskey and I like that. And we can stand on those shoulders with beer for like, they go through that whole process of making the whiskey, and then let's take these barrels and like, I don't know, I love the process. It's like, it's like there's a romantic side to it. There's the scientific side, like what's actually going on in the barrel.
Oh yeah.
But the art side to it, it's really, it gives you this. This is fantastic.
It does, and that's when we were selecting barrels. We are not at the level where we can just say, okay, we really like this one, and yes, the liquor that came out of this is so fantastic. When I say selecting barrels, like where we get them from. Just like anything else with any ingredient, whether you're like, well, which malts do you use? And I say, well, I chew on them first. You have to taste it. Just like cooking, if you're going to have an ingredient, chefs will taste the ingredient before they cook with it because they want to figure out what it's going to be like. The barrels are not really any different. So before I selected them, oftentimes there's a lot of Jack Daniel's barrels hitting the market because Jack Daniel's is constantly turning over barrels, and so you can get those very easily. But again, I'm not a big Jack Daniel's fan, not because it's a bad spirit. It's sweet, and I don't like the residual sweetness in the Jack Daniel's product. And a lot of other spirits are like that. When these came on, I actually never had Booker's before. And so before I decided to go with it, I went and got a bottle of it, and I was impressed because it was a lot more like a whiskey, where not so sweet. And that's when I decided to go with it. So getting these, I think, really helped put the product together. So whatever they did, because that's a Jim Beam product, I really appreciate, because I think that really helped turn this beer into what it could be. Versus it could have been something else had I put it in another barrel.
Yeah. So is it all? It's all barley, right? For whiskey, it's typically there's no corn.
Yeah, I mean, that's when you're getting in a little bit into semantics, I think.
Yeah.
Because American whiskey, you're going to look at corn, you're going to look at rye, you have rye whiskey, corn base, and then in terms of bourbon, that's also how do you make bourbon. It's got to be in a first-time use, American oak barrel, things like that. One-time use deal. So there's a lot of rules around that, which I don't look at nearly as much. I'm more looking at the flavor.
Yeah.
Call it what you want. It's a whiskey barrel at the base.
Yeah.
Whether it be getting the qualifier of bourbon, that's almost a semantic thing. I think that actually came from, and Jack Daniels will tell you this, is at the time there was a legislator, I think maybe out of Arkansas or something, who had a sawmill. And he saw that if he made that a thing to where you couldn't call it bourbon unless you use wood oak barrels, he's going to make a lot more money because he makes all the oak planks for the coopers. And so he ended up helping his business out by making that a thing, and it's just never changed.
Yeah.
And so that's where everybody goes.
That's funny. I mean, that's typical.
It's history. I mean, it's kind of like when people ask me, it's so hard. It must be so hard being a brewer in Texas, and there is, because we have TABC issues. We fight it with Craft Pack. We do a lot of things to change it to our way. But when you look at it historically and legally, you kind of see where they came from.
Yeah.
The sad part is why they're not seeing what's happening now in the changes. But it makes more sense.
Yeah.
So some of these things that we either do or some of these things we have to abide by makes no logical base sense. But when you look at historically and what was going on and why we ended up here, you go, well, at least I get why we're here now. And so it's important to understand some of those things just to at least be like, okay, I don't think it's right, but I now get it.
Yeah.
And so you can't start to change it just by, it's easy to be like, I don't like this and I want it to change. But it's more like, all right, this was this way, and we understand that. Actually, have the conversation of, there were criteria around that. Now it's time to maybe think about it again and change that. And I think that's the new conversation that needs to occur.
Yeah, yeah. It was. It came. Well, I guess it's been there. I don't know when the two parties make their platforms. Democrats and Republicans. I don't know if they craft it over the course of like the 2 years between legislative sessions, or if they just kind of have a platform and they adjust a few things. But it came out that both parties want to abolish the 3-tier system. I don't know if they knew that.
Yeah, they probably. Hey, look, all those guys know each other. It's kind of like if you wonder, like if the lawyer defending somebody knows the lawyer who's accusing, they know each other.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. I'm sure that. Hey, man, when we show up tomorrow, I'm gonna hate you. But in the meantime, let's go to the pool.
Yeah.
The people are people. Letting that run your life can be tough. But I mean, as politicians, maybe they do. Maybe they really hate each other. But I can't believe that because they're in such close proximity.
It's a lot like pro wrestling. I bet they play the heel, they play the
out
face.
out there. Well, it's politics. It's all visible.
But they're driving to the next town together. It's like when the Iron Sheik and Hacksaw Jim Duggan got busted for cocaine in the same car together back in the day. And
Well, you guys hate each other in the ring.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Well, now because he didn't pick up his side of the tab.
Yeah. I had to flip the bill for all this whole kilo.
I had to buy that whole all that cocaine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He owes. Yeah. I'm pissed off at the Iron Sheik.
It wasn't cheap either.
Yeah. You're right. That Iron Sheik had, top-notch taste and whatever his proclivities were. I don't know.
In his proclivities.
One back to the process side of thing. One thing they talked about in that documentary. It's on Hulu. It's called Neat. So go watch it when you have a spare couple of hours. But one thing they talked about that we don't really think about, like barrels when they're made, like the trees themselves add flavor. And that's a 40, 50, 100-year process.
I mean, oak. It's not fast. That probably I would say is one of their biggest. I mean, buying the corn, buying the rye, barley, all that stuff. That's not that expensive.
Turn
it's
over
time,
your
but in those barrels.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can tell you. Vineyards are in the same situation where they're like, they're doing certain wines and they're needing either fresh, French oak or American oak barrels. Versus they're on their 5th vintage of that barrel, it's going to significantly impact their business, and so they got to figure out like, what am I doing it for? For instance, we have these were bourbon barrels. The other cool thing that I haven't gotten to play with them yet, but I have them. And you can see I'm kind of excited. They're 4 Sauvignon Blanc barrels from it's called Cade Winery out in California. We lucked into getting them. They're cigar barrels, so I can show them to you later. But they're longer than a typical barrel. They're the same diameter, so they still fit in the barrel racks.
Yeah.
But it's very odd to have Sauvignon Blanc and oak. Because oak, you think Chardonnay, you think that buttery, oaky flavor.
Yeah.
Well, by the time these barrels were used 5 times for other wines, and they put their Sauvignon Blanc in it. But what that left was not that oaky flavor. It was that Sauvignon Blanc brightness and that grassy flavor. And so what I want to do is put the Saison without the raspberries in there and do a Lactobacillus Brett version of it with apricots. And that on top of that beautiful grassy brightness from the Sauvignon Blanc would just be fucking amazing.
Yeah.
The bummer is I've only got 4, and I either make a barrel or I make 30 barrels, and I've got 270 gallons worth of storage. So I can't I either need more barrels or I need a smaller brew house. And so chances are good more barrels will come first, but there's so much to that where they figured out where they're stained red because they were used for red wine at one time.
Yeah.
But the last thing that came out of them was that Sauvignon Blanc, which gave it that grassy, beautiful flavor, which is what I was looking for. So it's amazing the life that these things have. They're a living thing. That's where these vintners get that. That's where these whiskey guys get that. With beer, we have to understand it. Usually the terms are not the same. You go into these devilish sours that like Russian River's putting out with pedio and lacto, and they're blending them together to try to pull so much from certain things. That's one world, but it's not as common in any way, shape, or form as it is when you're talking with those guys. It's their liability because a barrel isn't right. You're like from the tree to the charring to the way that the cooper put it together.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a huge deal.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, and this isn't any negative thing toward Bookers, but we had one barrel that didn't really work out, and we've had it out there, and the bands have come off. The barrel really turned to crap. I've had those Sauvignon Blanc barrels, and I've been sulfuring them once a month and all that to keep them clean. And I've had them for almost 1.5 years, 2 years now, and those bands are as tight as can be. I mean, it's just a beautifully made barrel. So that Cooper was really on this game.
Yeah.
Whereas I think just because it is Jim Beam, they go through a lot more barrels. There was a little bit more wiggle room.
Yeah.
To where it's really amazing. You can see how the difference in their work translates into what that barrel looks like.
Yeah, because those are all still handcrafted. Like
They
Cooper,
are.
like being a Cooper is
it's still a trade.
Yeah.
And it's a sadly dying trade. And
Yeah.
so it's going to be a problem soon.
Yeah.
It's going to be a big problem. It's not an easy trade.
No, it's not. I mean, you have to. There's a lot of it just takes time to learn that craft. You can't just watch the YouTube video.
So you're gonna take, So if you think about it, it's like, all right, I would like you to take these straight pieces of wood, carve them slightly, and put them in a thing that doesn't leak. and make sure that they're all done without any kind of adhesive or anything, tongue
Yeah,
greasing,
that's crazy, right?
carpentry. I mean, it's quite amazing. And then you have to char them the right amount so that my customers who are selling these cooperages to gets the flavor they're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you think back in the day when all beer was put in a cooperage in the UK and stuff like that, they didn't char them. They were just barrels that you put beer in.
Yeah.
But I think that's really the main goal these days is you're not going to buy an uncharred barrel generally.
Mm-hmm.
Any of those flavors you're looking for is going to come with that char because it's going to help pull that flavor out.
Mm-hmm.
You guys want to do number 2? Do we have time? Or
Yeah, no, of course. Do we have time?
Number
We'll
2,
make time.
Canto
Well,
2.
Yeah, we'll make time.
So this is, again, the same Active Belore Imperial Milk Stout base beer in the same Booker's barrels for still a year, but with Underdogs, shout out to Dustin and Steve, their coconut cream pie shot.
Man, that was really good. One was really good. I mean, like,
And again, be ready. This is going to be a significantly different beer, but that is the whole point. So some people, it's funny when we had it at grand opening, we had it on tap, and people would come to me and be like, "Oh, I think Canto 1's the best beer you've ever did." And other people were like, "No, Canto 1 sucks. Canto 2's the best beer you've ever done." I was like, "Well, it depends what you like to drink."
Yeah.
But that's the whole. That also showed me that at least I was proud enough, and this is maybe some hubris. People actually are getting that the two are very different. They're not thinking that's just the same one plus.
aroma's way different. It's this one I smell like it smells like toasted coconut. Like
No, we never used any toasted coconut. We used flakes, we used coconut water, we used that kind of stuff. We didn't toast any of the coconut.
nothing.
No.
That's what I get. Like when I automatically what comes to mind is like a coconut cream pie with
Oh.
that brown meringue.
It's supposed to
on the
be
top.
like coconut cream pie. That's if you've ever had his shot version of this. All of his pie shots actually taste like pie. You take the apple pie shot, you're going to be like, I think I just ate apple pie, except I'm hammered. Same thing with their coconut cream pie shot. And so it should taste like coconut cream pie with the other beers. But
Yeah, I like this guy.
you like that? Yeah.
Would you like to taste?
Being
his
the pie guy,
Yeah.
you can speak more to the
See,
pie
that's-
levels.
Before I've been trying to get Chris to open his own pie, and his logo would just be his face, right? Look at that face; it'd be great on a label.
I think it'd
With
be
two
great.
thumbs.
No,
This guy's
yeah.
pies.
Yeah.
This guy's pies.
Pies by this guy.
No, this guy's pies.
Oh.
There's already debate. I mean, the ownership can't even get along about the name. This is going to be. This is
I'm
gonna
not.
be
Pie, I'm just an artistic
genius.
contributor.
Ah,
Yeah,
contributor.
I just want to see him be successful. I mean, other than this show and Liquid Lunch, just this the
Pie and beer.
It's a great combo. It really is. it turns out.
I keep saying that. A pie and beer place.
Well, I mean, the Great Heights guys figure that. They do that pie thing, Not to detract from the fact that all of you come to Backpea Brewing.
Yeah.
But we are congenial. I know the Greater Heights guys. I don't know them that well, but I do know they do I think they go to the Pie in the Sky or something like that, and they bring in pies and they do like a trivia thing, which I thought was pretty cool. I was like, pie and pizza. Okay, cool. I'm down with that.
Well, they're really close to that Flying Saucer Pie Company.
That's where they get it from. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Flying Saucer. And so I think if you win trivia, you get a pie.
Yeah, this is up
which
the
is I was
street.
like. That's a fun other thing. Usually you get you're like, oh, you can have some beers here later or something like that. Like you get a pie to walk home with. That's
No, I
So, is
think
there any residual sugar? I mean, is it like if you were to test this for the label for
carbohydrates and
Yeah.
stuff. It would be a lot higher.
okay,
And we know that just based again we don't put it's not sugar it's so much. I think it would be a lot of the coconut water, the coconut milk, coconut milk, a lot of residual sugar in that. And keep in mind this is after fermentation, so the beer's made.
Yeah.
This is put in the barrel.
okay,
So that's why you do typically some people, and that's actually one reason why I think people like one or two better. One will not be as sweet. Two will be sweeter because of those extra sweetness from the coconut. But it's not like we dumped a bag of sugar in it. But it's going to come with all those flavors because coconut has sugar in it. And so we didn't just add like coconut extract. We didn't
Yeah.
add any coconut extract. We added coconut stuff.
it's different because it's I think this is what I would want my after Thanksgiving dessert to be.
Yeah.
Minus the stuff to the gills feeling that I would have on Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah.
So it's actually better than Thanksgiving in that way. I mean, I have to work.
I'm not miserable, but
Yeah, but there's probably going to be. I'll probably find an old football game and then take a nap in the middle of it as I watch it on my phone or something. I don't know. That feels appropriate.
Well, you'll
but-
find one of two football games.
right. Yeah. It's like I don't want to watch the Cowboys. I'm not a maybe the Lions. I'll watch the Lions game. Maybe the NFL channel game. Do they
Yeah,
still do
yeah.
that? I don't know. Or too bad. That's one thing. They were playing the last A&M Texas game on re-airing on ESPN this weekend, and my wife's family, they're all from Austin, so they were watching it. And I was like, man, that's a shame. I don't really have an emotional investment. I hate both A&M and Texas, equally. I'm from Arkansas. So, I want to beat them both. But it was like, that's a shame that game doesn't get played on Thanksgiving every day.
It's a weird thing.
It's a real shame, It's like, you guys need to both of y'all, you need to get your act together and get that game going again.
Yeah, you should talk. You're not that far apart. They're like, nah, I hate you too much. It's just not worth it.
Maybe they just want to stay at home with their families. Enjoy
They're
Thanksgiving.
They're playing. See, okay, this is where Kenny tries to jump in. He doesn't watch any sports.
I'm not.
They still play games. Like Texas plays TCU and
on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and A&M is like playing LSU. It just doesn't seem right. Or Arkansas, whoever would they play? It just doesn't seem right.
How many of you out there think they should continue to play each other? Let's see. Let's take a poll. Let's see if we get any chatter about that.
Yeah, everybody.
Watch there be nothing. They're like, we don't care.
Yeah,
Just keep talking about beer.
2011.
Which I'm good with.
2011 was their last time they played. It's almost been, that's 7 years this season. That's crazy.
Those people that played that game are now like probably not even playing football anymore.
No, yeah. There's maybe one or two in the NFL probably.
Maybe
a handful. I'll say more than that. Handful. But yeah, NFL.
Jeffrey says, "Yay, sports."
He's a geek too. He's too busy distilling.
Always remember, Jeffrey, if you ever end up at trivia, the best team name ever is sports, because every time they go in sports, everybody's gonna go sports. So you're always gonna win the Spirit Award. Best trivia name ever.
There you go.
It's built in.
Yeah. Anybody?
No.
Okay, the bad ideas that Bobby has is asking for a poll on that. But hey, that also shows that our fans really love beer.
They do.
Which is what's important.
I think Tom is trying to change the subject, and he asks, "Are sales on target?"
Wow, right at the heart there, Tom. But I appreciate the interest. The sales are on target in terms of what? The original business model? Well, the original business model, as anybody would be, it was rational, but it also was somewhat aggressive. And I've let all my investors know that. But I mean, why wouldn't you want to do that? Any entrepreneur should be aggressive, but they also have to be realistic.
But they also have to be realistic.
They have to be realistic. And so fun. It's what we call fun with spreadsheets. Mm-hmm. If you end up having fun with spreadsheets, it's very, very obvious. If you're like, man, within 2 months I'm going to be up 200% over every other brewery, that's fun with spreadsheets. You can make the numbers work. Mm-hmm. Realistically, though, where you want to be in terms of all of those things. We're doing well. We're on a continued growth curve, which is very nice. I always want to do better, but keep in mind I'm the owner, brewer, guy, so I'm always like, oh yeah, that's great. And I know I need to watch this more because I'm like, all right, well now go sell more, because that's the way you grow though. You have to constantly be wanting to figure out how do you get more people to try your product, how do you get more people to be what we would call an acolyte for Bag Pew. That when you see that brand, you really want to pull that tap handler, buy that 6-pack. But every brewery is wanting to do that. But that is what my job is. So while they're on target from a certain perspective, of course I want them to keep going. I'd like to go punch Carbach in the nose. I'd like to go punch St. Arnold's in the nose. Why not? Those are the guys in town, if you're talking Houston, that you want to go and have them notice you. Yeah. Because they have the majority of taps. They have the largest sales force. Not that you don't like them, but that means that you're really starting to make some waves.
The St. Arnold punch is a little more good-natured than the Carbach punch, maybe.
No, either way, I mean, I know all those guys. So before you can talk about the buyout, and there's a lot of opinions about that, but I'm talking about, I know those guys, and until they close down the plant on Carbach Street and fire all those guys, they're the same guys making the same beer that they always were. Yeah. Once they do that, which is always a potential, you never know when they're going to make that decision. They've done it with the other big guys. So far, they've left Carbach alone. I mean, it's the same guys that built the brand. It's the same guys that bust their ass on the canning line every day. They have a bigger canning line, but it's the same guys. They haven't changed that. The only beer that's ever made it to the I-10 plant is Love Street because it's so easy to translate. Everything else is coming right out of the same plant that it was ever before. And so, why wouldn't you support a brand that makes great beer and by the same guys? And I know, again, there's some political reasons and all that. That's fine. But, those guys are selling a lot of beer for a good reason. They're making quality beer. St. Arnold's is selling a lot of beer for the same great reason. They're making quality beer, and they're out there. So if you can get on their radar and, that it's not a mean thing. It's like that means that people are attenuating to what we're doing, both our brand, our product, everything else, and that's pretty cool. Yeah. I'm not trying to do it to hurt these guys, but that just kind of shows some small level of success. If they're like, hey, you're taking my taps, screw you. I'm like, awesome. Yeah. And I'm not out there to take taps. That's something that could – I've had some people ask me about that, of course, more in the industry, and they're like, well, what do you guys do when you go out and sell? And so we go out and talk about our product. And they're like, well, I mean, like if you're in there and there's 20 taps and there's something like your Pilsner, and usually what gets brought up is Hans Pils. Are you like, or 5 o'clock Pils? Like, aren't you like, oh, our beer is so much better? And I said no. And they said, why? I go, well, because that's not the point. The point is for people to try our product. And I believe that our product is a high quality. I believe people like to drink our product. And I think if that bar sees that and then people get to try it, they will. And I'm not saying the other products aren't.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that ours is, and I think people will really enjoy it because we bring a different spin to it. And everybody believes that. But, doing an American Pilsner, using the Hopi Blue Corn, it really is, a different product.
Yeah.
One that I really believe in. It's a very difficult product to make. So when you're talking about that or anything else, that's how we sell. We're not selling against that guy. We're not selling to take that guy's tab. We're selling to get our beer on tap. We leave it up to the bar owner to pick what he wants to have.
Yeah.
If he decides to take that off for our beer, that's what it is. If he decides that he wants to put in a new tap to put our beer on, that's what it is. It's not our decision. But we go in there representing our beer, and that's a little bit of that saints and sinners, but don't be an asshole. In my opinion, you go in there being like, well, that beer sucks. Well, I don't even know why you have it on. You're being a dick. And in this industry, because it's somewhat insular, you're going to know about that.
Yeah.
And, at that point, that's when you want to throw down. Remember, before we got on air today, we were talking about people criticizing beer who really don't have a recommendation to criticize beer, whether you're BJCP certified, Cicerone certified. That's similar to that. The minute you start doing that, in my opinion, we will find out about it, and then you better be ready to really throw down because there are some very well-matured tasters and things like that to prove, are you just being a dick or are you right? Now, a bad beer goes out there. This is another thing that's also very important in the market these days. As more and more breweries come online, people come by and ask me, or people thinking about starting breweries, they come by and ask me, like, well, what do you think I should do? I want to start a brewery, blah, blah, blah. First thing I always say is, like, make quality product. And, of course, everybody goes, well, duh, I'm going to make that. If you haven't worked in a production-style brewery before, you haven't made beer on a professional level before, it's really important to think about that. Because it isn't just buying a big homebrew system.
Yeah.
Getting to the consistent quality, striving for that better product, it's a very difficult thing. And I think some breweries can struggle out the gate doing that. They have to put it out because they got to sell it and all that. But that should never be. I mean, like when we started out, I dumped one batch of the first batch of Ninth Circle. The second batch of Ninth Circle, I dumped it because it just didn't. I tasted it and I was like, something went wrong. It turns out I figured out what it was. But early on, we didn't really want to sacrifice that money. It's expensive beer, 8.5% 90 IBU IPA, black IPA. But I wasn't putting it in market. And that's something I like to drive home is that the minute that people think that you might sacrifice quality to get the beer in the market, you've really killed your value proposition of what you are as a craft brewer.
Yeah, those numbers are not the bottom. I mean, it's not the only equation.
It sucks, but I mean, at the same time, I think that that's what our customers have come to appreciate about what we are as craft brewers.
Yeah.
Is that when they buy our product, they can expect that we have a high quality product every single time, and they're not going to get one that's like, oh, well, this one's going to suck today because they have too much oxygen in it, maybe. Yeah. Now, there's always going to be the potential for error, and how you deal with that error, I think, ends up making whether or not your customer is going to come back. Like even Adalbert's, they had some bottle bombs not too long, or I guess now is long ago. I'm not good with time, but I guess it was a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Something bad had happened, but they found it, they fixed it, but they did the right thing. They went and recalled the bottles, everything they could. Anybody who had already bought one, they sent them a new bottle. That's the way you fix it, because invariably things will happen in this world. You can't, as much as we like to, and eventually we have enough money too, like Miller and Coors and Bud, to control every single little thing.
Yeah.
But in the craft brewing world, something small or weird could happen. It could happen.
Yeah.
And so, but your best bet is not to just be like, maybe it won't happen. Maybe it was just that one time. You go out there and you find out. And if you have to, pull it. And so your response to that's big. And, we haven't had much of that. We had one thing where there was a seaming issue. We used a mobile canner, and we had a little bit of a seaming issue, but we found, and we accounted for all but 20 cases, and our hit rate was about one can out of every 20 cases had a seaming issue. So maybe one can was bad, but, there's nothing I could do at that point. They were already gone. And, I haven't heard of anything like that, but that means that somebody got 1 6-pack with like one can that was probably a little flat. Not the end of the world, not what we want to do, not what anybody should expect from Back Pew, and I have no interest in doing that ever again. We fixed that since. We found out what the problem was. We use those fancy painted lids, and they're just a pain in the ass. Any new brewer thinking about doing painted lids, don't. Not because I think I'm cool and I'm the only one who wants it, but go ask your mobile canner about those. They will tell you no way.
Is it just a difference in like the
It's the friction coefficient.
Okay.
And so they'll skid.
Yeah,
And then they won't. No, it's just they won't finish. They won't finish the seam, and that was the
That
problem.
makes sense.
Yeah.
And so we still use them because we have them, but we have to sacrifice both speed and everything else to make sure that we're really getting a good seam,
You
which
have
we
to
haven't.
Add pressure or something. I don't know how that.
It's just there's a lot of things you got to do, and that's the problem. It's just not worth the headache.
Yeah.
Plus, you generally have a pack tech on it anyway, so who's going to see it?
Right.
Turns out. So as soon as we get through these batches, we're going to be going towards silver lids.
It really is. It's probably one of those things where, like, on the third one, you're like, hey, look at that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, I can tell you the most. I don't. Some customers definitely liked it, but the most I got was actually the ire out of my fellow brewers who would be like, "Hey, who brought all the Monster?" They were always mess with me. Like, it looks like because Monster uses painted lids. So I remember I was at a convention and some guys from the guys from Real Ale. And one of them's they're all funny. But I was talking to Tim from Real Ale, and all of a sudden behind me I see, hey man, awesome! Somebody brought Monster. Now we can level out. And I turn around, he's there just giggling like a little schoolgirl with a Blue Testament in his hand with that black lid on it. And I was like, you're a dick. But he still enjoyed it. But it's just it was usually I get more kickback from those guys. And it makes the package look good, but. Being all the sacrifice we have to make sure, because we're not going to sacrifice that for quality. Yeah. It's just better if we can move on and start to use those.
Would you use the black tops with the red tabs and the blue?
That's what we do, and then that's what we use on the Saint beers, and the center beers typically since they're white on top, they have a white lid with a red tab.
Okay.
So after we get through that stock, we'll likely more go to just a silver lid with different color tabs.
Okay.
Because it really was a great looking package, but knowing that we had that one scare, and knowing, I mean, the nice thing is we know about it, we caught it, we fixed it, and from moving forward, that's not an issue. Mm-hmm. It's still not worth the sacrifice on canning speed and everything else. I'm like, it's cool.
Yeah.
From a marketing perspective, my marketing branding guys who came up with a great idea are probably going to tell me I'm an idiot. But at the same time, I think it'd be a lot better because we don't want to ever have that scare again, because that's the worst thing you can do. Because if you think about it this way, our customers are willing to pay a premium for a premium product. If they pick it up and they end up getting a sub-premium product, that's like the worst thing you could possibly do.
Yeah, the power of negativity. It has more weight. Like how many
more people will
things?
complain about stuff than they will talk about how they had such a great experience. And it's just seemingly human nature. Mm-hmm. Go look at Yelp.
Yeah.
More people will get on Yelp to tell you how bad your restaurant is than they will to be like, I had a great time today.
Yeah.
And it's not a negative comment. It's just it seems to drive people more because they're more passionate about letting people know about how either bad or because they don't want people to go through that same experience. Yeah. So maybe there's a little bit of self-preservation in that. But
something I don't. Yeah. It's a weird part of human nature because when you go to like a good restaurant, you're like, man, this was really on point. The service was great. The food was fantastic. They had a great.
But you have all those endorphins. You just walk out and you're enjoying yourself.
Yeah.
You don't think I'm going to go do work now. I'm going to go on Yelp and let everybody know about how good I was.
You jump in the minivan and the girls start arguing and you're like, and you forget it all.
Yeah.
It's like if you could.
When you're mad the whole way home, they're shutting up because like, Dad's mad. Like we shouldn't. Let's not mess around. And you get home, you're like.
Well, I wouldn't. I would just pass out. But I would tell somebody, I'd be like, hey. No, let's not go. It would just be like, let's not go there. If somebody brings it up next time, it's like, eh.
But that's still just as detrimental. So you don't want that. So at that time you're in that shopping mart, like I said, when we started, you have this wall of beer to choose from, and that one time you had a bad experience, and maybe you go, well, I mean, I had that whole six-pack that blew up in my hands. Are you willing to pick it up again? No, you're not.
No.
It's a problem.
Not with all those choices out there.
So that's what I'm talking about. Is don't. That's something in terms of like, people ask me like, well, I want to start off and I want to go into package only. I was like, you want to go into package only? The amount of QA/QC control you need over that's very difficult. So start with the easier thing, which is kegs, as well as that's a really great, in terms of item to sell. It's a great item to sell, but it's really tricky. And so you need to do it. You want to do it, but you have to always be thinking about the potential of if one of those just catastrophic things happen. Mm-hmm. Early on in your business, it's going to be really hard to want to pull that product, but you have to be willing to do it. So if you're willing to do it, absolutely, but know that that's an element, and it's a tricky one to have. Those are those fun parts that keep me up at night. Remember how I told you I really like brewing, but those other things are important. This is the stuff I don't sleep about.
Yeah.
What we do if did we make sure we did everything we possibly can to make sure that blah. Are we getting the right feedback? All of those things, like that's the stuff you worry about.
What I'm assume, okay, because I know that beer geeks are a little more vocal and a little more passionate about putting their opinion out there. Where like you're an engineer type, you're the brainiac type. mostly, but you have to tap into the artistic side and the, I don't know. You're doing customer service and all that kind of stuff. It's really different skills. It's all different skill set. Where do you, from in the 3 years you've been around, when you see like feedback, what's the most valuable form of feedback that you see? That's most like, okay, that's the most accurate as far as the biggest swath of people or something like that. Is it Yelp reviews or is it Facebook comments?
People are going to hate me for this. Yelp, sadly, I think is the place you go to just complain.
Yeah.
It's if you listen, even the recently departed Bourdain, he mentioned that that's the worst thing that can happen to a young chef is Yelp, because especially if you're starting a new restaurant and you're a young chef, you go out there and you bust your ass and maybe you have a bad night of service and somebody important's there and they write you some bad Yelp reviews and then you sink. The potential is lost that you've met from some star who could just be fantastic, but it was killed because of an online review. Yeah. Because they had a bad night. I mean, again, that's one of those things where accidents will happen. It's what you do to deal with it. And so, Yelp is not that. I mean, we have Untapped, which is the Yelp for beer. Yeah. The thing is that gives everybody a voice, and that's where I'm talking in terms of qualifications. People will be like, this beer sucks. Yeah. So when other people read that, though, and this goes back to that beer wall being so huge, sometimes, you may not know what the beer is, and you maybe just want some kind of feedback. And so you go to this rating system. And that's almost one of the worst things that could have possibly happened, because are people rating it because it's accurate? If I say that this is a traditional Belgian Saison, but then 18 out of 20 people hate Belgian Saisons, and they all tell you it's terrible, but you really like Belgian Saisons, you might not pick it up because you're like, well, 18 out of 20 people say it's terrible, but it could be an excellent representation of a Belgian Saison. Yeah. But if they don't even know the difference, how useful is it? So you always have to be... It's just like anything else. You have to read about it, but you also have to take your own opinion into account and actually say, okay, well, why are they thinking that maybe? Like I've had people like Garnet has been out for a couple weeks, and I've had some people like, oh, terrible, I hate Saisons. Well, then why did you buy my beer? Because it's a raspberry ginger Saison. So what were you expecting when I said Saison? Yeah. And there's nothing you can do to control that. It's always interesting. We love getting feedback. And the thing is, I think the big picture is you have to take all feedback, and you just have to decide what you do with it. We have feedback here at the brewery all the time, things we can do to improve, and we're constantly trying to make small tweaks to improve it. We got in here, now we're getting feedback that we're too bland and that we could do way more. Of course we can do way more. Eventually we will, but we're building over time. We can do so much now, and then we do more then, and then we do more then. And anybody who's been with us from the beginning, where they remember being in the hot building in the middle of the summer, will say, this is fantastic. Yes. Now I'm in air conditioned, I've got indoor plumbing, we only had porta potties. And so you see the progression. But if you walk in here for the first time and you're expecting like a West Coast Ballast Point style tap room, I didn't get bought out for $1 billion, so I'm not going to have all those things. It's just not the way it is. We're still a young business. Right. But they don't see that, and that's where those things get tricky. So you have to kind of look at the whole picture, not just like a one-time issue. Yeah. So I take all that in, and we do what we can. If we hear trends of, hey, we really it'd be great to see this, great to see this, great to see this, or we taste this, whether it be negative, positive, whatever. That's when you start to say, okay. Because I can, as a brewer, I can make a beer, and I'm tasting it, and I taste the things I taste, and I mean to brew it for a certain reason. But if for some reason the palate, because it's very regional, is tasting everything else, that tells me something. That says, like, no matter what I think I taste, and this is the tricky part about going pro from being a home brewer, people are either really liking this about it, or people are really hating this about it. And that's why I love the pilot program, because people can come in, they can it's kind of a testing ground of, what do you guys taste in it? This is what I wanted to taste out of this beer. Are you getting it? Are you enjoying it? All those things, and they're very, very willing to tell you. People love telling you, whether positive, negative, whatever. Yeah, I'm very slow to, like, there's a little Mexican restaurant in our neighborhood, that our Tex-Mex restaurant, and they're, what could we do better? And of course, their beer selection is bad. It's all, Mexican logo beers, basically. Yeah. Like, they're not produced over here on I-10 or wherever. Yeah. Right. So it's like, okay, that would be the obvious point for me, because their food's really good, their service is always really good. It's obviously close to my house, but I haven't said anything because I'm like, you know what, they're not going to understand. I don't want to be the guy with like my hands on the hip, like, you should do this. Like, I'll sit down with you and eat some fajitas and say, you should put this beer with this fajitas. And I don't know that. It's and this is where I'm just talking about myself, because maybe I've had enough beer to do this. But it's like, I don't value my own opinion enough. I know that it's just it's just me. Well, I mean, but there's a balance there. Like, if people either ask you for your opinion or you want to give it, know that it's your opinion.
Yeah.
And that's what's tricky sometimes, because we definitely have some customers who think that when they give us their opinion, they really expect us to turn around and say, okay, I'm going to do that right now.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen. I mean, we have a lot of things to think about. Like one guy, I remember one day, it was like a year and a half ago, when we were in the other building, it was about this time of year, it was hot. Mm-hmm. And we weren't it was before we were packaging beers, so I guess it was about 2 summers ago. Mm. And he goes, hey, man, we got to leave. And I said, well, okay, well, thank you for coming. He goes, yeah, it sucks, man. My daughter wants to go to the pool. She was like 4. And he was like, and you guys don't make any packaged beer, so I can't drink your beer anymore. I was like, well, I mean, we're working on it. We were on our way trying to figure out how to, go in the package at the right time. It makes sense at certain periods. And he goes, well, you fix this problem. You just build a pool out back. And that way I can keep drinking beer and my daughter can swim in the pool. And I was like, so you want me to build a pool so your daughter can swim and you can get drunk? And he goes, yeah. And I was like, well, we appreciate the feedback. We'll think about that. But I was like, I am running a business, and liability tells me that that's a stupid idea.
I was going to say, what's the insurance?
Because I was like, no way, man. Like, you literally want me to say, here's your toddler kid going into this body of water that I'm responsible for. You go get hammered in the meantime.
Yeah.
No, like that's a you decision, man. I can't do that.
Logical.
So you take everything in stride. And is it necessarily a bad idea to be the first brewery with a pool? Maybe not, but. Do I think from a business viability standpoint, probably a really tough thing to do, and I don't really want that liability. So.
I think it's an excellent idea.
Well, theoretically, I'm going to say this.
It's an excellent idea.
It would be like a high urine content.
I was going to say, when you start if you start having
a
a clicker when people get out and go through the turnstiles into the bathroom, those turnstile numbers are going to be way low for what you think of like gallons put into the pool and gallons that go into the bathroom, too low.
We'll have to kind of constantly be feeding it off as like a river back to the San Jacinto and filling it with fresh
something
from the bottom with nice cool water.
Yeah, I don't know.
Go down to the well and pull something that's just slowly gurgling all the time and spilling back off into the San Jacinto.
That is an interesting idea, though. The pool.
Well, we always heard
I've never heard of. Like everybody loves to go to the pool and drink beer.
Yeah,
but now you add the brewery experience to it.
No, that's fine. But here's the thing. Let's debate this real quick, Kennedy. It's now I don't know if you're self-conscious like I am, but there's a lot of people that are self-conscious, especially in the female persuasion.
Yeah.
Do they really want to go out in public in front of all the people and wear their swimsuit in front of people? I, for one, I've had a pool at my house, and then I've had to go to the neighborhood pool. Let me tell you, at the house is way better.
Yeah.
But it's also a lot more expensive. Yeah, kitty, those inflatable kiddie pools are. I was about to almost call it the Kennedy pool because you're young at heart. Even though you're old as balls, you're young at heart.
Yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for that.
The inflatable kiddie pools, they get warm pretty hot too. So you don't know if somebody's peeing in it or not.
Well, like anybody could. I'm betting he'd be cool. Like anybody come up here with their inflatable kiddie pool, and just put it out in the back, and maybe they don't have a hose.
Oh, BYOP.
Yeah, BYOP.
BYOP. Bring your own pool.
Yeah.
Maybe they just
they.
Well, if you bring one of those air pumps, what are those things? The Air Hawk.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm sure he's got a hose out there.
HB sells those inflatable pools. They're great. Yeah. It's an interest. That's a thought. If you can get the cooler right there next to you, that's what we do. We'll put it in the back, and we don't really do it now. We did it a couple summers ago when the girls were younger, but we would put it. We'd blow up the pool, fill it full of cold.
Yeah. The problem is there's going to be that one asshole, that larger man in his Speedo, that's going to come sit in the kiddie pool and ruin it for everybody.
But if you bring your own?
Yeah.
Can't you say no? You're not allowed him up.
What if he brings his own?
Well, that's fine, man.
Yeah, but he's
gonna frolic can be free.
He's gonna ruin it for everybody.
Is he? Yeah, the banana hammock. I don't know is that ruining it or providing entertainment?
I mean, maybe he's visiting families from Europe. He thinks it's totally acceptable to
from Oklahoma.
Yeah, he thinks it's totally acceptable where the tangerine Speedo with his gut hanging over it.
I don't
hairy chested.
I don't begrudge.
I came back to that. That was
We're talking about the pool.
Yeah, if you were to BYOP, bring your own kiddie pool.
Would you be okay with that?
Inflate it, fill it full of hose water.
Yeah. I mean, but again, I just I'm not usually one. I'm an engineer, so I would like to believe. So thinking back to when I was a kid, I used to if we had this environment when in the early '90s, they would. The river backs up to this. I would be all up in those woods, snakes and all. And if I got bit, my dad would whack me and be like, "You're an idiot for getting hit. You're getting bit. Let's go to the hospital now." These days, I have a feeling I get like you owe me a lot of money, Leather,
Yeah.
because my kid got bit by a snake on your property. And so just anything like that, when you can drown in, 6 inches of water, I'm like,
That's true too.
Because I've got these, we have these, I guess they're typically sold to like be feed troughs for animals. We have a specific use for them. But I was like, well, we could just fill those up and just let kids play in those for like now. And I was like, but sadly, based on how the kids typically play on a Saturday, like they're going to drown each other. They're just going to, they're going to fight. They're going to whatever. It's not in like a mean way, but they're like, haha, this is so much fun. All of a sudden, there's going to be a kid floating up. I was like, it's just a weird thing. But being that one of our allures, I think, is that we have a little bit of that outside the loop country kind of thing going for us. I was like, we can get the old school, like the tractor. The old irrigating tractor that would roll around your yard and follow the hose, and then the ones that just go back and forth, and just let you run through those.
Oh,
that could be fun because that's kind of
idea.
like a hybrid of you have the water, you still have fun, it's cool, and I get water my yard, which I currently don't.
Bring your jorts.
Yeah.
And cutoffs.
That's right.
So-
That's right. You know?
Jeffrey just brought up a good point about pools.
What?
It's going to be full of dudes.
I mean, when it's
out
100.
here, we
full
not
of
single
dudes.
ladies, but they're ladies.
Yeah.
I'm to the point now.
Full of dudes, no girls will get in.
Well, they probably
No,
won't.
it's hot as hell outside. They will. Everybody will.
And just jumping in your clothes, and then you can sell more T-shirts.
And you
Oh,
can just dry off through the rest of the day.
Yeah, it
and
would take
it'll
about
feel
10
really good.
minutes to dry
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know.
That's a lot.
I don't think you ever really dry off though.
Then you
Well,
start
to-
sweating.
just
you'll,
enough
you'll,
to the
you'll
point.
sweat, and so you'll
But
always
hey,
have
evaporative
moisture.
cooling, it works great. You'll
Yep.
feel better the rest
Enough,
of the day.
just enough to drive home. You just
a
won't
little
wanna-
breeze that comes through, you're like, oh, it feels so good.
You'll
Yeah.
always be damp.
Yeah. Well,
Moist. Would one say?
When- yeah,
How does
yeah,
that
a
come
little
over
moist.
on the
people
robot
love it when
penis?
we
I'm
use
sure it
words
would.
like
yeah.
moist. They love it.
It's so much better when it's recorded.
Yes.
Slip and slides.
We've thought about that. That seems like a potentially good idea.
Until you're, you know what? The last
Until
time I did a
somebody
slip
breaks
and
their
slide,
neck.
dude. Last time I did a slip and slide was 2002, 2003.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'd just been married, but I was about 70 pounds heavier than the time I'd done a slip and slide before then. I've had back issues ever since.
Well, I've seen some that are really cool recently that are like it's like an inflatable, it's like a blow up mattress slip and slide
That's-
hybrid, which that looks fantastic.
They do those with the sprayer on it and everything.
Yeah.
Well, someone's gonna put like dishwashing soap all over that slip and slide.
But when it's
That's
just
good,
like
though.
when
It's
it's
gonna
the
just-
when it's the yellow piece of vinyl or whatever
Yeah.
that stuff was
Oh,
made of,
just
just right
ra-
on the ground.
Where you were like, I could just get a bunch of trash bags. Yeah, that stuff.
Yeah. No, we were doing full on runs, dive through the air and belly flop onto the ground.
Yeah.
Why, how's that not a great idea? I've had back issues ever since. Like it'll
I
just
would
go out
believe
every-
it.
Yeah.
I
it
have
was
no
just-
doubts about that, but that's what we had.
Yeah.
Hey, technology evolves, okay? And somebody said, why are we not using the crappy air mattress technology in our
It's
slip and
brilliant.
slide technology?
Actually,
and
I'm
they
gonna say
married
that.
it.
Yeah, I've done that because we've had friends that their kids have the inflatable parties with the slide and everything. So those work. Yeah, as long as everything's full of air, but like straight on the ground.
Yeah, that's the rough one. See, back when you're a kid, you're just like, oh, it's so much fun,
you
and that's
kill
why
all the grass.
that's why all the parents are like,
Yeah.
nope. When I jump from here to there, it hurts a lot.
Yeah,
and the kids are just like, ooh, yeah.
our front yard was the only part that had a hill, and so we'd put it on the hill, and we'd basically run into the neighbor's house to stop us because it's like the bottom of the hill, and like a 4-foot section, and it would puddle, so you have this big water puddle, mud puddle, and then slam into their garage wall, like boom. And so they got mad at that, but then also we'd kill all the grass. And then my dad's
Yeah.
like, no, it's like,
Yeah.
all right, well, but it was fun at the time.
Yeah. Well, that's when you do that, and you're like, oh crap, now I'm in trouble. But
Yeah.
but it was really fun.
Well, and then they had those little metal stakes that had the rounded top that were supposed to hold it down, but they'd all pop up and somebody's cut their foot on it.
Oh
and
yeah,
there's blood
but
everywhere.
that's just what it was.
Yeah.
That was part of the fun,
Yeah.
and that's how you stopped. You're like, now we gotta do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Somebody's bleeding all over the
Then
slip
somebody
and
forgets
slide.
to turn the hose off, and then that's when really everybody gets pissed. You believe? Yeah.
He has been out there for the last 4 hours. You've been
Yeah.
inside watching The Dark Crystal or whatever the movie was you had on VHS on 2 tapes with commercial breaks.
That's right.
Or Goonies. Yeah, we had Goonies on. We had to. I still remember.
You had to
like,
get through the taped parts because you hated that, and you got the tracking right. But it's
Yes.
okay because that's all you got.
yeah, no, I remember we recorded it off of TV, and you actually had to fast forward through the commercials. I still remember a
Yeah.
lot of those commercials that were on that tape.
Oh yeah. I remember. You had to get the right depending on the movie length. You had to make sure your VHS tape had enough capacity because
Yeah.
you had like the hour and a half ones, and you had the 2.5 hours, the high capacity, and there was like think of 3, and it was heavy because
Oh,
there was
yeah.
so much tape on
Uh-huh.
it.
Yeah, there were
Kids
like
will never. I mean, Be Kind and Rewind is something you would say now, and I'm sure it's a weird thing.
Standalone
Blockbusters
rewinders were
the last Blockbuster just closed in Texas.
really. There's one in Alaska that's still open.
Yeah, apparently it does really well.
Yeah,
Like people
that's funny.
still like. Well, I mean, it's hard. I mean, they can't
should-
exactly get internet.
They should put in like a nano brewery in there. Yeah, that would be awesome.
Dude, while you're shopping for your newest, not really newest movie,
Yeah.
have a beer because why
Why not? Why not? You're in Alaska.
Why not?
yeah, because you're going to be looking for a while.
It takes a while to figure out what
Yeah.
you want when they're like that. For some reason, you can make a much better decision when they're all streaming because if it sucks, you just turn it off and go to another one.
Mm-hmm.
But you're committing to maybe 4 days, 5 days if you're like a special member, and then if you don't return that in time, that penalty's up there.
I mean, I used to spend a lot of time in Blockbuster, like trying to make up my mind what I wanted to watch.
And then
what about video games? That was even tougher.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
the good ones were always taken. You
Yeah.
had to be like, all right, well, I didn't get the good one, so how about either the one I played a bunch of times that I really do like, or do I try like this other one that I don't know anything
and
about?
you had to go to the different ones because some of them were heavy, like Super NES. Some were heavy
Yeah.
Sega Genesis, which I had.
Mm-hmm.
I was more of a Sega Genesis guy. Great. They had what was the one with the helicopter? The not Russia attacks. What was it? It was one. Anyway, they had a helicopter where you could like blow up the White House and stuff.
What?
You were supposed
Commie.
to protect. You were supposed to protect the president because he was in the. He was in the limo, but you could also blow up all the buildings. So they had like the Washington Monument, and the White House, and all these other ones. So if you wanted to go rogue, you could just blow them up because you had missiles and bombs and the guns, and then you could pick up the people. It was a pretty cool game. It's like, anyway, I don't remember what that one's called.
I don't know that one, but it sounds awesome.
Yeah, I need to remember. I need to go back and look at what that was.
Sega had some great games, and they came up with Sega Channel. If you remember that, you could hook it up to the wall, which was the cable, which is sort of like internet, like early internet.
Yeah.
And it would sometimes work.
We didn't have that in Arkansas.
I never got it. I knew people that had. I was like, oh my god, how'd you get that?
Sega Channel.
And sometimes it would work.
That would be awesome to sometimes play that. Yeah,
Yeah.
Genesis had great games because I worked
did.
all summer mowing yards to buy Genesis, and I got the NFL Football '94, the first Joe
Man.
Montana football. Well, this was Joe Montana, and it was the first one to have the announcer.
Okay.
Before that, they were all just like text. Yeah, and this one was like the running back runs, and you could just do the spin move the whole time. Nobody could tackle you.
Well, the Madden's been around since like mid-'90s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was about the same time. I don't know. I mean,
Matt
Joe,
ended up winning out.
Yeah.
I guess
Oh,
Joe
big-
was like,
well, he
eh.
retired. That was
Big time.
the '94. That's when he went to the Chiefs,
Hmm.
and then he retired like a year or two later, and it was done. But it was like the bigger thing, and it had the little like the battery in the cartridge.
Oh, man.
kind of like Legend of Zelda back in the day
Yeah.
had the battery in it.
Oh
to-
yeah, so you could pick up where you left
And
off.
if you hit power and reset
Yeah.
at the same time, it would kind of save it most of the time.
yeah.
Hey, there was a whole strategy to playing games back then. Not just playing them, but also being like, hey, how do I not just never sleep again to keep playing?
Yeah.
That's why like when the PS1 and all that came out, they had memory cards, so
Yeah,
you
those
could
little
save
cartridge
things. You were
little-
like, I don't have to just completely stay up all the time. I mean, I'm going to, but
Yeah.
I don't have to.
Yeah, they had what was it like the little like 8 megabit.
It wasn't
Yeah.
much. It didn't take much. Just, I mean, that means they could have done it.
Yeah,
You know,
it
but
was a
they're
little-
like, nah. I mean, hey, think about it. I'll bet if you took, I've never done it, but just based on feeling it and being like an adult, if you took a Super Nintendo cartridge apart, there's a lot of air in there.
Yeah.
It's mostly gaps in plastic around the actual circuit board that was the program. They could have stored some shit on there if they
Yeah.
if they wanted to.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, like now they can take every PlayStation or every original Nintendo game, everyone ever made,
Put a little console
and
like that.
and like put it on maybe like a small memory card or something.
Well, I mean, that's
It
also
doesn't- it doesn't
technology and
take
time,
much.
but so understandable these days and age. You're like, yeah, because that is awesome. Like to have all access to all those.
I want one of those NES classic little.
Oh, that little thing is called. Yeah.
Although I will say this about the original Nintendo, like the Xboxes nowadays, when they break, they're fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But the Nintendo,
yeah. You could take
something
it,
wrong with it, you just blowing it
or
works
smack
fine.
it.
Yeah.
You could smack it.
or blowing
Yeah.
it, and it's fine. It's fine.
You just take it out and put it back in, take it out, put it back until it turns on that one time.
Yeah.
Blow
So
in the
I mean, those Nintendo consoles, they probably still work.
They do. I still have
Yeah.
my Super Nintendo
Yeah.
and my NES.
Do ya?
Still work. I got an NES, so it still turns
The
on.
zappers don't work on new TVs, though. You have to have a tube TV.
Yeah, it's gotta
Yeah.
be tubes.
But other than that,
I never had the Power Glove though.
the Power Glove, I never had it. I had a friend that had it, and they returned it, and it never really worked. I had the Power Pad. The
Oh,
track
that's
and
that's
field.
way different though.
Yeah.
That's a whole different animal.
What about
Yeah.
the robot?
Oh,
Anybody heard of
Rob
that?
the
Yeah.
robot.
Yeah, I never
There
had
was
that.
like one
Yeah.
or two games,
Yeah.
and that was it.
It was a cool idea and way ahead of its time, really.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was not one.
There was some cool. Like I had the big, what was the NES Advantage, where it had the big joystick and the big buttons, and you had
Oh,
to-
yeah.
that was
Yeah.
cool. But
See, things like that kind of made sense. The Power Glove, though, I never quite got.
it
how
never. I was just actually reading an article about that the other day. It never really worked. Like because it was all a marketing campaign on that. What was that movie, The Wizard?
Yeah, yeah.
He's like, I love the Power Glove. I just remember that.
He was the guy you had to beat.
Yeah.
And he was so good because he had the glove. And I think that was it was all.
Rad Racer. They were playing Rad Racer on that movie, and then that's when Super Mario Brothers 3 debuted on that movie. Like, oh, it's a new movie. They played on a big screen in front of everybody.
Yeah, they don't do that with games anymore.
That was come out.
Yeah.
Just download them.
Jeffrey's saying you can install a Raspberry Pi on an NES cartridge and have all the games on it.
Jeffrey's always one-upping everything. I don't want efficient and new. I want old and shitty and wow.
Well, you got it in an old style cartridge.
Still, it's
Yeah.
not the same. I want a
You
tapper.
want to have 40 games. You want to take up 40 games worth of space in your living room.
Yes.
Because it's mountains that could fall over, and then your whole organizational system. Because remember
Yeah.
they had a sleeve that came
Yes.
with them.
Yeah.
And then when those went to shit, you were just, I'm never gonna be able to protect this.
Some
game.
people had the little thing you could put them in. Little,
Oh, yeah,
like almost like the pre-CD towers
Yeah.
or whatever.
They're first for your NES games.
Yeah.
I remember that.
But I want like a tapper, where they slide the beer down the bar. I want the arcade version. I don't want a new shiny HD version. I want an old shitty 8-bit or whatever it was tapper
It was
video
8
game.
original. I guess when Super Nintendo was 16, and then that's why 64-bit when the Nintendo 64 came out was such a big deal.
And you
Everybody was
could
like,
do
holy crap!
Plug
it's-
in 4 controllers with no adapters.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, but the original stand-up consoles, that was an 8-bit.
Yeah.
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 Oh, the original arcade games.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they jumped up
Yeah.
to 24 eventually, like Street Fighter 2. That was 24.
What boggles my mind are the new pinball games. Like I remember old school pinball, you might have some bouncers that whatever. Now there's all this crap happening all the time. It's like, you're just trying to get me to spin more tokens. That's what you're doing because you put all these balls out there. It's just confusing.
Yeah, it's
They still
throwing
make-
their
they still
balls
make
out.
pinball games?
Yeah, man.
They do.
Like new
Pinball's
ones?
fun. Yeah, like new ones all the time. Usually
wow.
based oddly around like movies. So like Star
Yes.
Wars.
Yeah.
The
Used
Simpsons.
to be rock bands. Like
Yeah.
the Rolling Stone, Aerosmith,
Yeah,
all
yeah,
those.
yeah.
If you go to what's the one over there off 45 Rayford?
The
Game
Game
Preserve?
Preserve, yeah.
They have some old as
Oh yeah, they've
like
got
from,
like
like,
some
They're still
from,
more
50s.
fun.
from
though.
like
They're still
yeah.
more fun.
Yeah, I mean they're old, like made out of.
It's a
like-
weird clown on it.
Yeah, it's made out of ivory.
I think they have
Back
like
when you could make stuff out of ivory.
I think they have like an original Playboy
Yeah,
pinball game.
and like the girls were fully clothed.
See, that's,
Yeah,
the,
of
that's the
course-
kind
of
of
course
things that
they
you
were.
used
Of
to
course
make
they were.
games out of. Now it's this pop icon things, not Playboy.
Yeah, I remember like being a kid saying, "Ooh, Playboy."
Yeah,
I'm gonna play that game because
Yeah.
it's gotta get me
Yeah.
no closer to.
video games. Video games are awesome. I mean, until you look up and you've spent 6 hours and nothing to show for it.
Yes,
Where'd my-
you do. Yes, you do. That's the misnomer. I don't know what it is, but you have something to show for it.
It's true. High score.
Depends what's in your item thing, I guess.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
true.
So yeah, I've taken my nephew recently.
the Game Preserve?
He's 7 to Brash.
Oh yes,
Oh man, that kid, he loves it.
the video games.
I mean, can you imagine being 7 years old and having an endless supply of quarters?
no,
In
I
an
have
ar-
no. I
in-
can't
in-
fathom
in-
that at all. When I was
in
7,
an arcade.
Hey,
Just-
hey, Dave and Buster's, that must be one of the few redeeming qualities about going there anymore. They have the coolest, newest games.
Yeah.
I mean, Brash has all the awesome old games, which is super,
Yeah.
like Rampage.
Oh,
I don't even know
yeah.
what Rampage is. Now they think it's a movie. No, it's not a movie. It was
has that movie
a-
come out yet?
I have no idea.
It's
It
coming
makes me
out.
scary.
I don't know. But
They're
that,
rocking.
Rampage used to be like one of my favorite games.
It was a great
back
game.
in the 80s.
When they put
yeah.
it when they put it on Super Nintendo, maybe that was a Sega game. It was crazy. And they
It was
did a
one-
64
I think it was
version,
yeah. They definitely had a Sega Genesis version of it.
But I remember being a kid. I think we went one time. It was for like it was a birthday party of some sort, and we got into Dave and Buster's. It was a big deal because they serve alcohol, so letting kids in was like it used to be a big deal. And they had this game was a Mech Warrior game, and you had to have enough people to play it.
Oh, I remember that.
Remember that?
Yeah,
And you had to
yeah,
get these
yeah.
little pods. It was super cool. And I hope they still have those like newest, coolest games, but I don't know.
I don't know.
Because that was awesome. But you paid to play it.
Yeah.
So for like 15 minutes, maybe.
Last
Yeah.
time I went to a Dave and Buster's was my the night before my wedding,
Oh.
which would have been back in 2002.
Yeah.
So it's been a little.
That's your bachelor party.
No, but it
Oh.
was the night before my wedding.
Oh.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah,
Yeah. So like even these kids just constantly feeding them quarters, and playing all night long. Still cheaper than Dave and Buster's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the thing. It got me thinking. I jumped the gun on just like I wonder if they still have because they used to have those cooler new games, but the old ones are still more fun to play.
Yeah.
Because you can actually play like the Simpsons game. Every time I see the Simpsons arcade game, it's that shitty old Simpsons arcade game. Half the time the screen is like glitchy.
Yeah.
Most of the buttons don't work, and so you're always mad that the fat guy knocks you out. But I play it every single time I see it.
That one and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Great game.
Love that one.
Great game.
Yeah. I want a tabletop Pac-Man or Miss Pac-Man. I'll be fine. You know what? I'm a forward-thinking man. I'll go with Miss Pac-Man. It's a better game, I think.
Than the original?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I think it's got a little more nuance. I think the controls are better, and the sound.
The controls.
For those of you who've never seen the difference between Miss Pac-Man, and Pac-Man, it's the exact same game except there's a bow.
It's not the exact same. The sound is different. I think the Pac-Man game is a little more aggressive.
The mazes are a little different.
A little grating.
Yeah.
But then you have the
You're
blue versus
eating
the yellow.
dots and there's ghosts. And
The outside is blue versus yellow.
Oh.
Just saying.
Somebody's asking. Changing the subject here.
Back to beer.
Back to beer. Any new releases coming soon?
So we just put Garnet Pietist, our raspberry ginger saison, out in market. It should be rolling out right now. Faust is done, or in one part of our territory, so that's Kingwood, Webster, Lufkin, down to Galveston. That should be seeing most of it. That's done a very good job. The rest of the city has had a little delay. There's a little snafu with HEB, but Specs is taking it. Hopefully this week HEB's got that turned on, so they're taking it this week. So you should start to see that. In July, in the Kingwood, Webster, Galveston area, Evildoer, our little pale ale, it's an Amarillo Citra pale ale. It was going to come out in a bigger release fashion, but we had to delay the Garnet, sadly, a little bit. It will not be going out citywide. It'll only be going out in one part of our territory. But the next one I'm really excited about is the beginning of August, and that's when we're doing our Kingsbrau. And Kingsbrau is a German fest beer, and fest beer is what you brewed, and actually that's what you typically drink during actual Oktoberfest, not Marzen-style beers. So Marzen-style, for those of you who are, again, I'm not either way, I'm just going to kind of explain the difference. So Marzen is what you see from a lot of breweries. Shiner Oktoberfest, St. Adams Oktoberfest is Marzen. It's going to be an amber-style lager, bready, a little bit chewier. A fest beer, though, if you ever look up Oktoberfest, you see the girls and the lederhosen and stuff like that with the giant steins. It's a hay straw-colored, beautiful, clear lager beer, and it's roughly around 6% ABV. And the way they differentiate it, say the Munich Oktoberfest, is each brewery does their own version, which means they add their pale malts, they add their yeast, they use the hops that they like, all of those things. So what we did was ours is mostly a Pilsner malt. It's got some Vienna malt in there. We use our house lager strain in there. Makes it this beautiful malt-forward, kind of just very easy to drink, 6.1% lager. The way that we kind of differentiate, because we are an American brewery, we use Hallertau Blanc hops, which is a German hop. They have that beautiful Sauvignon Blanc kind of grassy floral flavor and aroma. And then we dry hopped it slightly at like about 0.3 ounces per gallon, which is a very low dry hop level. But it gives you this just beautiful, easy drinkability thing, because at Oktoberfest, what are you doing? You're drinking a lot of beer. You don't want it to be overbearing. And so that will be coming out at the beginning of August. And there's a lot of reasons why Oktoberfest beers comes out at the beginning of August instead of actually when Oktoberfest is. We will not dive into that here because I don't agree with them anyway. But there are reasons. But that'll be out. And the other reason we did a fest beer instead of Oktoberfest is I think because they come out in August, we're still in Texas looking for something that's just very easy to drink, beautiful beer, and it really fits the bill. Plus, I really like that kind of lager style. I do have a Marzen recipe that's delicious. I just want to do something a little bit different.
Cool.
After that, as far as I need to repost the release calendar, but we've actually added something cool. We were approached by a foundation here in Houston called Addie's Faith. And what Addie's Faith is, so this couple, they had a daughter, Addie. Sadly, she got cancer as a child and she passed away. So they fought for this, and they've done a very good job at trying to raise childhood cancer awareness. It is a big deal, and they've raised a lot of money for it. They have a lab down at MD Anderson that's Addie's sponsored. They paid for it, all that stuff. So they've done a really good job with it. They approached us about doing a beer for Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, which is September. And so I think we're going to do that. And I have a beautiful Kolsch recipe I've not used, but I think we might make it a pineapple Kolsch because in September it's still hot and it's kind of the end of summer. I think it'd be a real lovely way to enter into the fall that may hit in December, but it will only be out in September, so I think we'll do that. And then Black Habit, which is a year-round release, will be canned and out in market as late October.
Nice.
And that'll be the last new release, except Active Below, our Imperial Milk Stout, will come out on tap in the beginning of November. After that, we will have no new releases for the year. So that was a very long answer to that question about new releases coming out. But I'm getting, again, you start talking beer, I tell you I'm a nerd. I get excited. I can talk beer all day long.
It's perfect. No, that's a good one to I guess wrap this session.
Well, I have one last question.
Please.
I just thought about it when I just went to the bathroom. Not really.
You were thinking about me when you're in the bathroom?
Well, no, not really.
Good. Good. That's
Has anybody that used to be a member of this church, like way back when it was a church, has anybody come in and given you any feedback?
Oh yeah. We've had people that are like, oh man, I got baptized here. Now I'm drinking a beer here. This is awesome. So we haven't had many people come back to come back and be like, oh, you've done something terrible.
Yeah.
Generally, we've had some people not like stoked, but not like, oh, you're gonna go burn in hell.
Yeah.
I will tell you, I am gonna eat up enough time to talk about this one last story. So when we were first taking down the metal church and keep in mind it was fully built out. There was a sanctuary, there was offices, there was a kitchen, there was an upstairs storage space. We found these signs that said Hell House. And had these fire on it, and it was like October 29th. It was right there around Halloween. I was thinking, oh, cool, they did a haunted house for the kids. So we kept these around because it was like, oh, I could maybe do something with that one day. Well, somebody randomly walked in, as they typically did, and they said, oh, you have a Hell House sign. Can I have it? I said, you can, if you tell me what it was. And he said, oh, it was fantastic. What we did was, over here in the new church, we put the 7 deadly sins in gruesome detail. So like abortion, all that stuff. He's like, we just made people feel terrible, and we made it hot. We cranked up the heat, all this stuff. Yeah. And then we leave you outside, and if you wanted to be saved, you got to go into the old church, which is here now, where there's air conditioning. They had soda and candy and pie and cake and all this stuff. So you want to be saved. And he was like, it was amazing. We saved like 2,500 people that night. And in my head, I was going, this is completely fucked. This is so messed up. But that's what that was. And so he was like, yeah, can I have one? I said, absolutely. So I'm thinking about using the same exact sign, because we still have some. It was like the little ones you put by the side of the road, and actually having fun with it and doing a haunted house so people could come and have fun.
Oh, cool.
But that was one of those where it was very strange. He has not been back since. But he was a little bit worried about what we were doing with the place. But I was like, based on that feedback, I think we actually have done pretty well.
Yeah. No, I mean, everybody knows that your eternal salvation, if you make it to, if you go to heaven, it's all simple sugars and air conditioning.
But hey, look, everybody's got their own thing, so I'm not here to judge what that was. I'm glad, but at the same time, it just seemed a little weird to me. I was like, maybe you could talk to people.
Yeah.
Not just try to scare the ever-living shit out of them. But you know what? Everybody's got their own strategy. So,
let's go with what works. 80. I don't know, when was that? That 80s, early 90s?
No, that was like late 2000s.
Oh.
Yeah, so it was not too far away.
Kind of a throwback. Because I was going to say, when you brought up the 80s, early 80s were an interesting
Well, that's like
time.
when this was built, and then that was built in the mid-90s, but this happened 2 preachers ago, which would have been like late 2000s.
I think, well, go ahead.
Sorry, did this church move to another location? Or did
the one
just...
we got it from, no. It kind of got dissolved.
Okay.
Thanks, tax protective things. They didn't have to pay taxes for a while. But and the one before that did sort of move, but that guy was relatively frail, and so I don't think it's doing so great. But I know one of the reasons we got it from this was because the flock had left.
Okay.
Let's put it this way. By the time we got it, he had one service a week at 7:30 in the morning, and it lasted till 8.
That's not very much.
That's the only time it was open.
Yeah.
But they rented it out for profit to another church who was having church service in here 4 times a week.
Yeah.
It was very strange.
Yeah.
Like I said, we've repurposed it in a very positive fashion.
Yeah, I've never why do churches do early Sunday morning services?
So nobody shows up.
Later?
No, you're only doing one service for 30 minutes early on a Sunday morning.
Yeah.
What do you think that's for?
Why not? I would
nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Why not 2?
I think it's
a 2
so
o'clock service.
I think it's so people can get church out of the way early and then be able to enjoy the rest of their Sunday.
Especially if you're a brunch person.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I'd rather go to brunch and then sit in on church for a minute.
Or during football season.
Yeah.
You can go to church and then make it back home in time to watch.
Every Texas Baptist dream.
Yeah, you make it back so you can watch all the games. You're done by noon.
Oh.
Yeah.
Even with lunch.
No, I mean I've been to church a lot.
I mean we've got a lot of
people
DVRs and all kinds of stuff, right?
Yeah.
I just feel like.
But the habit's already formed.
Perhaps.
You didn't used to have DVRs. Maybe even if your VHS could film one game, you had to have lots of VHSs with the timer to make sure you didn't miss it.
Or you could change the speed because there were 3 different speeds. Like a 2-hour tape can be stretched out to 6 hours, but that 6 hours would look like shit.
Yeah.
But it's still, you could have 6 hours of video on one 2-hour tape.
That is true.
True.
SPEP and something else.
Yeah, extended play.
Yeah.
Anybody ever use VCR Plus? Remember that? It was on like every VCR, but I don't know that anybody ever
I
used
didn't
it.
use it.
No.
It was at the advent of moving to DVDs.
Yeah.
But,
Too little, too late.
Yeah, that's.
yeah, and then there was what was the giant laser disc? I never
Oh,
had.
yeah,
I
the
knew
laser
one
disc?
person with a laser disc.
That was
We had those in
years
school.
ahead of its time.
Yeah.
It was.
They're huge.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, you miss records, but you want them heavier and to be really scratchable.
Yeah.
Excellent. Let's. Here's this technology.
Yeah, but you can shuttle frame by frame. So there's that.
You could do that.
All right. Well, that sounds like a good thing to go out on, right?
Yeah.
Laser discs. Maybe that'll come back.
Just like the laser disc.
All right. Well, everybody, tap room hours: Thursday 4 to 8, Friday 4 to 9, Saturdays 11 to 7, and Sundays 1 to 5. Did I get that right?
Yep.
I had to
right.
write that pretty quick.
You
I
could
have
go
it
to
twice.
church,
We can come out
Come
here.
to church.
go to the early service,
They go to the sanctuary.
and then come out here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems appropriate.
Yeah.
Seems feasible, appropriate, and just like an all-around good idea. So, Dr. Bobby Harrell, thank you, sir.
Thanks, guys. Good to see you guys again.
Yeah.
Always.
We'll have to schedule another one sooner than 2 years out.
That'd be good. That'd be
silly.
good.
That
Yeah,
was just
now,
silly.
now,
Yeah.
now that we can sit in AC, it's awesome.
A lot more options.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all the good beers. This number one. I think I don't know. They were both really good though. 1 and 2.
I'm more of a fan of the number 2.
Like I said, it just depends on what you're looking to get out of it.
But
But that's why we do so. That's why you do different beers, not
Yeah.
just one plus. If you did that,
I mean, they're both good, but I'm a big fan of coconut. So
It's hard to use, so that's why it was cool to do it.
He goes nuts for coconuts. All right. Well, for TD Mike, who missed out on all the 1s and 2s, he didn't get to try either one of them. So sorry, buddy. For Kennedy sitting in, be sure to join us on Thursday for Liquid Lunch, and for Dr. Bobby Harrell, the Commodore, Captain, Leader, President, Head Brewer, and I don't know what else, whatever other title you have.
I whichever it is, just
Yeah.
just say, hey Bobby, I'll probably answer, so it works.
Cool. Hey Bobby, and your new best friend here at Backpew Brewing in Porter, Texas. My name is Josh. You have been listening. Had a little thing come down. You have been listening to the greatest podcast that we've recorded today. This is Interbrews.
This is Interbrews.
Preceding has been a presentation of Stewed Productions.